Ah! Okay, let's get this set up here, boys. Today is another exciting day. Oh no, I gotta turn this off. How do I turn this off? Nope. Nope. No. Oh no. How do I? Oh no. Oh no. Owner. Features. Oh, here we go. Super chat. I turn this thing off. Turn off super chat. Turn off. There we go. No. Turn off super chat. There we go. Awesome. Okay, let's see how we do this. Pop out the chat. Holy moly. I just got a super loud. Okay. Screen share. Yes. Okay, that is beautiful. Everything's working, I think. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So, how's it going, everybody? Today is a wonderful day. I've been working on a script for something, and I decided, hey, I'm gonna drink to clear up my mind because that's how it works. And then I drank too much. Now I'm here. So, how's it going? And I hope everybody is doing okay on this auspicious day. Gabriel Oliveira, greetings from Brazil. I'm your biggest fan. Oh, thank you very much, Gabriel. Gabriel? I don't know how to respond to that. That is really nice. I really appreciate that. I don't know how to respond to that. That's really nice, dude. Thank you. Imicus, I'll join you, bud. Oh hell yeah! Crack open a boy cold one, my dude. Oh no, delicious. I wish I was drunk and dead. Oh no, what's wrong, delicious? What's wrong? Let me know. I can do what I can as long as it doesn't cost money. Do people hear me okay? I don't know if people hear me okay. Hey Joji, how's it going?はじめまして、ジョージ君。元気ですか？今日はとても寒い、ですよ。だから僕に、カナダ、います。Let's see here. Okay. Oh my God. More people said things. What in the meantime? Oh, this is. Okay. Let's see here. How. Okay. So Soul Gear. Soul Gear. I was drinking because I was working on a script because I always drink while I write. So my process is just I just drink, and then I edit it sober. But I'm in this like strange position. Uh, I'm in this strange nebulous position where it's like, how can I describe it? I just came from the gym. I went to sleep. I woke up. I ate a bunch of like dry foods, and now I'm drinking. So it's just like my body is a little bit more, um, it's a little bit more dehydrated than I usually am. So I'm pretty sure that's why the alcohol is hitting me a lot faster. But I was working on a script. I wrote like 2 paragraphs, and then I said, "Hey, I'm gonna start this." Let's see here. Uh, Johannes. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. I'm drunk on my tea. Oh, tea is wonderful. Um, let's see here. What do we got? Uh, a big fan of your Apocalypse series of videos. Do you have any plans to revisit Evangelion in future videos? Um, theor at this moment, no, not at this moment. Um, but Evangelion is kind of hard to avoid as a topic because of just how important it is. I may eventually have to end up revisiting Evangelion because so after this series on performativity, which is going to be taking a really long time, unfortunately, because the next video is about Tezuka, and there's a lot written about Tezuka, so I have to try and sift through quite a bit of scholarship. But after that, the next video series, I might as well tell you guys, but the next video series after performativity, is about Om Shinrikyo, the if you guys are familiar with that group, and sort of their role in a broader general sense. And so there's a lot of confluence between people whom are watching Evangelion and people whom are experiencing the Tokyo Sarin subway gas attack as it happens. And so there's this, well, not like as it happens because there's a little bit of a messy time frame, but it's very important to consider like the climate in which it was watched. And so Evangelion is going to crop up again, but I don't think it's going to be a video on its own. Ambu Black Ops says, "Hey, how's it going? How's it going, Ambu?" Imagis says, "Yeah, I do the exact same when writing sheet music." Oh, nice. That's cool. That's cool, man. I've always been interested in trying to get into like music theory, but I don't know like a good place to start. I've been watching like YouTube videos about basic music theory, and I always hit a point where I find parts of it interesting, and then like the rest of it uses a particular diction I'm not used to. And so like I just didn't end up having the time to go deeper into music theory. But Imicus, if you have any recommendations as to like how to get started in terms of like understanding music theory, I would really appreciate that, my man. I used to drink soda to record my goofiness. Oh, that's good. Delicious. So Om Shinrikyo is not necessarily a suicide cult. It is an apocalyptic cult. It's so essentially they're what's called a millennialist cult. And so a millennialist cult is the belief that at a particular point in a millennium, there's going to be like a coming rapture upon which like the world ends, and then there's a particular judgment. Now, it doesn't always have to be Jesus Christ. That's an important thing, because when we talk about millennialist cults, they often do get talked about through the lens of Christian cults, because those are the ones in which we have like the most scholarships about, and they also tend to be like the most like visibly theatrical in terms of the damage they do. Right? You know, you talk about something like Heaven's Gate, for instance. They Om Shinrikyo is part of like this 70s. They're part of like the 70s cult that came about, sort of the 70s 80s wave of small religious groups that came about in Japan called the Shinshin Shukyo, and essentially they just mean new religious movements. And the Shinshin Shukyo are particularly important because like how they sort of talk or try to reach out to people that generally fall outside the normal purview of what we consider to be like normal religious goers for the most part. So they're very interesting groups to look at, but they're not they're not an apocalyptic cult per se. Sorry, they're not a suicide cult per se. They are an apocalyptic cult. Oh hey Joji, how's it going?
Hey,
Your
hey,
camera
yeah,
is on. Your camera is on, you clown.
yeah. I know. I don't. Oh wait. Oh, there's a turn off camera. That's probably the best choice. Yeah. I mean, like it's what? It's 8:05 in the morning. Yeah. Here.
Yeah, but there are
And
50 viewers, my dude.
oh hell yeah! This is like the most. Oh no, the most viewers that were on a stream that I was involved in was one of Jeff's. I think we had something like 400 or 500 viewers at the time that I was on.
You should have challenged him to Ultimax so you could body him right on his own stream. Hello. Oh no.
Hey, Joe.
Oh no. Okay, cool. Awesome. All right, cool. You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Cool. That was weird.
Mm.
Back to screen sharing.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's see what the comments are like. Oh no. So many more comments since I cut out. Any plans on ever making that NHK video you joked about? First of all, I don't remember ever making a joke about an NHK video. And second of all, I never make a joke. Anytime I say something, it is always 100% serious, and there is no in between. Ever. Ever.
So that one time that you were doing that Fat Albert impression in the Neotaku chat, that was serious.
Yes, I'm going to stick by my claim that I never make a joke.
You did also say, to memory, that you were Mel Gibson, which was interesting.
Yes, I'm not backing down. I'm not backing down on these claims. NHK video. Yes, I do have an NHK video planned. I have resources and papers and whatnot printed out and ready to go. I just have to like get around to making it. I've got like 7 videos in the pipeline. And this month is like particularly brutal in terms of like what I have to get done. So it's kind of just weird. Rick Beato. Okay, I'll have to take a look at that. All right. Have you ever heard of an anime that came out summer 2017 called Made in Abyss? I found it to be quite thought-provoking. I never finished Made in Abyss. I know about it. Joji, did you ever finish Made in Abyss?
I watched the first episode and then I was like,
Okay.
oh, this can happen later.
Okay. Uh yeah, so I'll get to it eventually, I think. I hope. I think. I'll get to it eventually. I think Made in Abyss is pretty interesting. From what I'm seeing of it about it in the context of Giorgio Agamben's bare life and the Homo Sacer. But I don't know. Who knows? I haven't finished it, so I can't say like that's something for sure that I see or something. Hola, amigos. What are we talking about? Absolutely nothing.
This is the Seinfeld of anime-related live streams.
This live stream is about nothing. Do you have any recommendations of books for someone who wants to know more about Japan and its entertainment media? Okay, so when we talk about Japan and entertainment media, we have to consider that there's actually quite a lot of different lenses, and there's quite a lot of different sort of theoretical entry points. And as a result, it's very hard to talk about like where to start without getting into specifics. And so you would really have to sort of try and explain what about Japan and its media and its entertainment media that you find interesting for me to like make good recommendations. But I think a good place to start is a recent 2017 publication by Mark Steinberg and Alexander Zaltim. It's essentially a collection. It's an edited collection, and it's called Media Theory in Japan. I think it's published by Duke University Press. And what it is, it's essentially about media theory through through a series of different lenses. And a lot of them are incredibly fascinating and very important when we're talking about what it means for media as a thing. Because when we talk about media in sort of classical senses, you know, it's simply you have a sender, you have a receiver, you have the in-between. The in-between, this communicative in-between is media. The medium. And so like that channel in between is now an important factor to consider because that channel comes up in a lot of different ways. For instance, there's a wonderful chapter in that book about the Tanji Labs and how after the Second World War, Japan rebuilt Tokyo as sort of a nervous system, which is itself, you know, that particular way sort of modifies the way in which we think about media. You know, it's very McLuhan-esque. The idea of the electric light tethering us to a particular means of presenting ourselves. And on the topic of McLuhan, there is also another chapter in Media Theory in Japan that talks about the Japanese McLuhan, how the Japanese have an idea of media theory starting from the 50s into the 60s through translations of McLuhan's work. But it's a very strange translation. And so there's a sort of Japanese McLuhan-esque element that comes about to it. There are very few that actually talk about anime, but there are a lot that talk about things like, you know, Varillion speed and the optics of compression when we talk about media and Japan's entertainment media. So there's a lot to unpack there, Gabriel. And if you give me a specific thing, I can probably try and point you in a direction that makes more sense, assuming I know about it. But what would you recommend, Joji?
I don't know. Just to clear up for someone in the chat, it was Media Theory in Japan. Yeah, that's the book that you were recommending.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. My recommendations for books are just, you know, Ghost on the Screen by Thomas Lamar. That's, you know, a film covering section, and, you know, just Lamar's writing in general, but that requires, you know, grasps of other regions as well. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still not heavy into academics, you know. I'm just, yeah.
Well, like a lot of these books are written in an academic environment, but a lot of them don't necessarily try to reach an academic audience. It's just that like it just tends to be that like academics are really the people most used to dealing with what the book presents.
Yeah. And like that's the other issue is that also I have like minor exposure to media theory stuff outside of, you know, primarily online. I you know, like I'm not even in a media studies field. You know, I'm in visual arts. um I guess sometimes I do end up writing on media stuff, but yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
Also, do
Okay. Next.
you
Oh yeah.
econ into this chat?
Yeah, I sent him a link.
Yeah.
Yeah, he messaged me. I sent him a link. Okay. Next one here. Greetings, Joe in chat. We can hear you. Okay. Oh, okay. This is when I cut out. Oh no, it just jumped all of a sudden. Okay. Let's see here. Oh no, so many more text in the meantime. Okay. Thoughts on Shoujo Shumatsu Ryoko. I haven't seen Shoujo Shumatsu Ryoko. I've heard that it is a cute girl post-apocalyptic series, which I think is, if it's true to that description, then I think that is a very interesting development with the Nichijouke type shows. But I haven't seen Shoujo Shumatsu Ryoko. What about you guys?
Nichijouke? Is that a thing now? Well, when they're talking about Nichi,
It's been a thing
everybody,
since
by the
like the
way.
mid 2000s.
Yeah, I'm just saying that terminology though, quote unquote
Well-
Nichijouke, because I haven't heard that used very often. Usually it's like Iyashike or they talk about moe anime, but I haven't really heard the term Nichijouke used. Is
Well,
that like a thing?
Nichijouke is like, well, Nichijouke is different from Iyashike.
Yeah. I figured, you know,
Yeah.
just judging by the name Nichijouke, but
Yeah.
like, is that just a common thing now? Because I haven't been really seeing it anywhere, like online in the, you know, Futaba and the communities that these phrases usually come from.
It might be, you might have seen it under the name Kukike.
Okay, yeah, I think I've heard that before. Yeah.
Nichijouke is the term, it's pretty much the same thing, but Nichijouke is the term coming out of the Kinaba Junpo circles.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, as in the manga circles?
No, Kinaba Junpo, the journal / magazine,
Oh, okay.
actually wrote about Nichijouke. They wrote about Kukike, but they called it Nichijouke.
Interesting. Send me the article on that. Do you have it in Japanese or English?
There's an English one, but there's a Japanese Wikipedia Kukike article that is a good summary of it.
Okay. Well, I mean, I know what that is, but what's it called? When you're talking about Nichijouke, that's a little bit more confusing to me because I haven't heard that phrase before. But that article you were talking about, if you can find it and send me a copy, that'd be great. Thank you.
Japanese studies. There we go. Here we are. I'll just link this in the Google Hangouts thingamabob.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
There we go.
That said, I wouldn't classify a show like Shoujo Shumatsu Ryoko as that genre, though. It's more akin to something like Kino no Tabi, where it's like magical realism. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And you know, for people who don't know what magical realism entails, it's a genre of it's like fabulism. It's a genre of fiction where you have the sense of realism and the fantastical, and those are sort of integrated in a very lackadaisical way. There's no emphasis put on it. It's just like, oh, okay, there's magic, and that's normal. and that often comes off like a fairy tale or a folk tale because people live in harmony with spirits and ghosts and whatever. And Shoujo Shumatsu Ryoko is really magical realism, even though it's not magic, but it's not like particularly involved in its world building. It's more about analyzing the consequences and the results of things like that. It gets very philosophical and usually has some sort of moral or lesson that it's trying to teach, which kind of gives it like a fairy tale atmosphere.
Okay.
So I think classifying a show like this or Kino no Tabi as Kukike, or however you pronounce it, or Nichijou-kei as you're saying now, is a little bit misleading because that's not really what they're going for. This isn't really trying to be a show like that.
Well, so I'm basing this based on how people have described it to me. I've already said that I haven't seen the show.
Yeah.
So like this is a tentative position.
I mean that's fine, but I'm just describing my opinion on it at least.
All right, fair enough.
I think people too often judge shows like these by superficial features, like, oh, cute girls doing whatever, and they fail to actually look at, what the show's actually about. Either way, like, it's a pleasure to finally talk to you, Joji.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to talk to you too. But yeah, like I on the topic of Girls Last Tour, I mean, I find it a deeply fascinating series. But I guess in terms of like styles of literary parallels, I guess I'd draw it closest to like being a fable. It's typically got these very short philosophical discussions that are wrapped up in this larger exploration and progression, which I guess it's not so much like a fable, but yeah, each individual episode feels almost like one.
Oh yeah, what's it called? The link you sent us was dead, Joe.
Oh, god damn it.
See, that's the problem. That's the problem with academia. Everything has to be like on a JSTOR or some sort of like collected journal storage thing, or else the links just die because the servers go away.
No, I think links in like when you link stuff in like YouTube chat, it kind of just fucks it up now and then.
Really?
There we go. So that's the title.
Okay, I'll go Google that later. But
it's by Multiple Tanaka, who refused to do a video with me. Calling you out, Multiple.
Yeah, everybody in film academia just has their heads up their asses anyway, so I don't think you're losing much.
Well, I mean, jeez. I don't remember. I'm not going to say anything. Maybe she changed her mind, and I don't want this to come back and bite me in the ass.
Maybe she just didn't understand what you were saying. Like, did you send her a message in English, or?
I sent her a message in English, but she wrote her doctorate in English.
Oh, okay. Okay, so probably has some understanding.
Yeah. Well, she's I think it's like it's just like kind of the culture of a lot of Japanese academics in that like they're mainly interested in talking. It's very Parisian in a sense, in that like they're mainly interested in talking with other people around them, and like the only people who kind of talk to like general lay audiences are people who have a vested interest in talking with general lay audiences or about general lay audiences, like like Azuma Hiraki.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
So that kind of stuff. So
I do always find that kind of a problem with academics, though, because I think academia is fascinating. I do my best to actually. I was just by the school library. I picked up this fascinating 2013 book on color theory. Wonderful stuff, but like in the end, the reach that these articles might have and a lot of the ideas they could discuss, it's so limited by the fact that they're too specific with their jargon, or like you said, they're not designed for a the hoi polloi, as it were. Oh, okay.
I
If you're
think
gonna use big words, I'm gonna use big words too. Blah 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 blah.
I think the challenge is simply like, so like I'm running into this particular anxiety myself, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Like
assume so.
because like during your PhD, you are asked to publish, and you're asked to publish as frequently as possible. And some of the trouble ends up being like the
Your
kind of
program?
information.
I was wondering if your program had a specific number of papers they required you to publish to get your doctorate.
Yeah, so you're supposed to publish. So you're supposed to technically only publish once, but it's in like it has to be in like specific papers that they want.
Okay.
So I can't just like shit out a million papers and pray to fate. But it's like, it's like it's a little tricky sometimes because you have there's definitely an external pressure in that the thing that's going to get published are going to be like like the felicitous utterances of so and so. I'm like, that's the thing that's going to get published. But like if you're gonna say like just like murder in Japan, you need to already have a considerable backing. Like you need to already have a series of publications behind you for them to buy into that.
Well, that's because you're publishing mostly to an audience of academics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically that's your entire audience. And what I'm saying is that I think the problem is that these, aside from really big journals like Nature, Science, Cell, stuff like that. Speaking of which, there was once a volume of Cell, the medical magazine, that had Araki's art in it, where I believe he drew a JoJo Stan version of a white blood cell, and it was like the coolest shit ever. So check that out if you have time. But aside from big publications like these, your work gets little recognition from outside audiences, and the general public, and you're just left to a review by your peers. And a lot of times, the academics, they have a different view on things, and they value different things, and they might think that an opinion you have is irrelevant, while to a great majority of people it's very relevant, and that's kind of the dilemma, because the world of academia has become so insular and isolated, I think, that it's almost like, what's the point anymore, right? If the goal is just to theorize and philosophize, I don't know, but like mull over philosophical implications without any real world application, then at least to me, it seems like it becomes almost formless.
I think we have to be really careful about talking about application, because there's a lot of things that are incredibly difficult to apply.
That's true. That's true. I wouldn't deny that. But what I mean application, I don't mean just like use in film or as a technique or whatever, but even consumption for the common person. I don't believe that film criticism should be read only by film critics and by other academics, and because who was the what's his face who was talking about the different distinction between piece of art and work of art and all that crap. But it's like, at least to me, it just feels like it loses in relevance if all you're doing is appealing to other academics and drowning in theory, right? If nobody is there to consume that theory.
Well, I mean, like that's why I mean, like, academics do outreach, right? That's why they write like articles in like The Guardian or whatever.
Yeah. I think that's a great thing. I just don't think they do enough. I think when like the majority of film papers are being read by film academics, it gets to be a bit of an issue. And it's a terrible thing, because they're just like phenomenal, like you mentioned earlier, they're phenomenal articles in research journals and film journals and stuff like that, that if they just changed up their writing style a little and maybe published it in a mainstream source, or even on YouTube as a video essay or something, they get a lot more attention and be a lot more digestible and be really interesting for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think the challenge is just like it's really just like time, right?
Really?
Because so you're talking about like video essays. So video essays, obviously they take a lot of time, but there are academics who do try to make video essays.
Like
Julian
you?
Barak. God damn it. So I do not consider myself an academic.
Yeah, save that title for your PhD. Right now, you're just an assistant academic.
So, like people like Julian Baraka Thomas, he does video essays. Not very often, but he does do them. James Blight of the Balsillie School, he also does video essays. But like they're rare because they're so time consuming.
Oh yeah, certainly.
Because like a lot of them, most of them don't know how to edit video. A lot of them are technologically challenged. And so the trouble ends up being they either have to learn how to edit or they have to pay someone to edit. And sometimes, they just don't have the money to edit. The wages are dropping constantly.
Oh, yes. Did you hear about the thing in California with the adjunct professors? Good Lord.
That sounds like it could be a lot of things. What's the specific event?
I remember they did a poll in like 2015 where like 75% of teaching positions in higher learning in California were like adjunct professors nowadays. So few people had tenure. It was ridiculous.
Yep.
Yeah,
tenure is rough to get.
Yeah. And I'm just there like, what? How? Good Lord. But I think you have a point there. However, at the same time, I think it's also a matter of visibility, and of simply how appealing your content is. Like, I love that video you did on Erased, Joe. The one about the manga paneling. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was lovely. I thought it had a very clear intent and point. However, I do feel like, I mean, I haven't. I'm obviously not as well versed in academia as you are, but I have read the relevant text that you were discussing in that video, and like I was like, okay, I get what Joe is saying. Like, it might be a little, high up, but I know what he's referencing. I know what he's talking about with these paneling and the word bubbles and such. But then you get to the end and you bring up this discussion of grammatology, and I'm just there like confused about wait, what? How does grammatology factor into this? And I think sometimes
but econ is so easy.
Oh, shut up. If your video is like at some point a struggle for someone like me to understand, I think that's that's a little bit too much. Not to say that was a bad video, I appreciate the fact that you do put an academic slant on these things, but I think in some of these cases, academic content like this or like papers, they tend to reach a little too broadly and to bring up a lot of like, and I mean, that's kind of the nature of academia. You want to have a lot of citations and other points, but they can kind of suffer from poor language grading. They can suffer from just trying to incorporate too much into them. I don't know what a better way to put that would be.
I do think language is a problem in academia. There are a lot of moments where language is a major factor that can hamper otherwise incredibly interesting ideas. I'm essentially getting my hands. Oh my god, my back! I'm essentially getting my hands on a book about the geographic rendition, or the cinematic rendition of geography.
Ooh, that sounds really interesting, actually.
And suffice to say, it's a dense book.
Now, when you say cinematic representations of geography, are you talking about things like, shooting locations and landscapes, or are you talking more like cultural geography and things like grand narratives across space?
No, it's mainly about like the way in which the camera lens considers cartography.
Oh,
It's about
okay.
You need to link that book to me, fam, because that's my kind of shit.
All right, sure.
Aren't you from Australia? There's like nothing interesting geographically in Australia. You got one big rock and that's it.
No, man. Right now, I am sitting on a mountain, and then basically, like, this mountain, from the top of it, you can view another mountain which has a really cool telephone thing on top of it. So, like, don't say shit about Australia, we have a bunch of cool rocks, though.
Mm.
We have like 3 of them that are in a line. People go there sometimes.
Yeah, so the book here is called Cartographic Cinema by Tom Conley Harvard. Have it. It's called Cartographic Cinema. It's a dense book.
Oh, I bet.
To say the least.
Yeah.
Are
there pictures at least?
I haven't finished it, so I have no idea. I'm doing this video on Isekai smartphone, so like I'm going through like all this like material on locative media. And there's like it's just like this rabbit hole. It just keeps going. There's no end.
Did I ever send you that article I found about the cultural anthropology of Isekai?
No.
Oh, okay, let me dig that up. Thank you. I don't know if you're done with the script already. I just think you might find it interesting. I remember we had a conversation about this before.
Yeah, I haven't written the script. It's probably going to be like next month.
Okay. You want me to still send it to you?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, let's see.
But yeah,
here.
You were saying?
Oh yeah, no, it's just some of the things that are just like cropping up. Okay, let's probably get back to the text chat here. What is your research process like? Well, we got 3 people.
Are you still looking at these questions? Those questions were like 45 minutes ago.
I gotta get through them, You just gotta be fair to the people asking these questions. Well, there's 3 people. How about you guys go through your research processes before I go through mine?
Well, like research processes for what? Because for my videos, there's pretty much no research process because, like, I mean, if there is one for my videos, it's just drawing from my other writings for university and stuff. But for university, it's mostly just dicking about, checking through books relative to the topic that I was assigned, and then I just say, okay, here's an interesting concept, and then I read a bunch of other essays on it or on the piece that I have to analyze, and then I just kind of dig out my relative points and then sort through them and everything.
What about you, Eekster?
Is that what you're gonna call me now?
Hell yeah.
I don't know. I don't really make videos, although I do write about this sort of thing a lot, and I chat about this thing a lot, and I just like to do research for fun. But usually when there's a topic I want to know about, for example, recently I was I went on like a big Twitter rant about Devilman Crybaby, and some friends encouraged me, like Digi encouraged me to make a video out of it. And so I had my reflections on the show itself, which the major points were that I really hated the color grading, the color palettes, and I thought the storyboards were mediocre. Now, that brings up the question, why are these colors mediocre and why is the storyboards bad? So I mean, I have some understanding of it just from, my knowledge of film and, my understanding of color theory. But using that as a starting point, I first of all went back to stuff like primary sources. I watched Yuasa's other shows and took notes on how things like, the backgrounds in Tatami Galaxy compared to those in Crybaby. Then I went and looked up, then I went to the University Library ending. And then I looked up books about storyboarding. Didn't I tell you earlier I just got back with a book on color theory? And now I'm going through those to try to find salient points to reinforce my argument. And after that, I will probably go and look at other critic responses, what other people have to say about it and what other people have to say about Yuasa's other shows, and compare those side by side. So that's usually the kind of process I go through, but sometimes it's not so easy because unfortunately, academia doesn't always keep in touch and up to date with things that are going on in the fandom. So, for example, recently I was thinking about why there's been a declining fan subs. I used to be a fan server. It was a really big and vigorous community. Yet in recent days, it just kind of fell off. So it's not like there's any academics writing about it. So, I have to talk with other fan subbers, talk about why they quit, their motivations, look at the timeline, go back and just basically piece together your own opinion when there's no other person who's written about this sort of thing before. And that happens a lot of times when you're discussing like seasonal anime or current stuff, a lot of it is just experience, and you just have to kind of have the capability of synthesizing your own thoughts when there's like no research material available. How about you, Joe?
I get super drunk and
Also,
I read like
you should
2,000 pages, and then I say, "There's got to be something here," and then I get even more drunk and I write a script.
Econ, you should definitely write the Crybaby video, though. I mean,
Oh,
your Twitter line is basically a video's worth of writing for anyone else, so
What the thing is, like I read people who are better writers than me, and I read people who know more than me, and I don't think there's anybody on anime YouTube like that, but when there's people in the sphere like all those old bloggers I used to read, it just makes you feel inadequate and like I could do better. But at the same time, I don't think that's any reason not to try. I've just been busy translating manga and working on other stuff. I finished like most of the script last night. I'll probably finish it up later. You still want to edit it for me?
Yeah, I'll edit it for you.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, it's mostly a bunch of stuff complaining. Actually, maybe I'll wait to put it out because it's like PewDiePie said he wanted to do a review of it.
Yeah,
and my impressions on that show were largely negative. So I'm kind of like, maybe I'll wait for everybody to love it, and then I'll shit on it, and people will watch it out of rage.
How's it going, Jexter?
Oh, hey, Jex, what's up? Yeah, what's up?
Hi. I joined.
You're really quiet, my dude.
Oh shit.
It's all right.
I could check my. I do not use Hangouts usually.
Just up your gain. Work on those sweet gains, my man. Okay.
Using a microphone with a gain knob. What kind of bourgeois shit is this?
Bougie.
Manime Matt says, "What video are you most ashamed of?" In a perfect world, I'd say all of them. Most ashamed of. Okay, let's see here. Let me go through my catalog. See which one I hate the most. Or I disagree with the most.
I think it's natural to hate your own videos. I mean, you're a content producer, but at the same time, I think you have to have some level of like ego and like self-assuredness, to even be making videos, right? You have to think what you're saying is right, or at least deserves to be heard, and you have to feel good about yourself that way.
Yeah, like I would say that a lot of my videos come from a place of saying something that I feel needs to be heard. I still hate them though. I think that the way in
No,
which it's being-
but like it takes some level of ego and some level of selfishness and confidence to, you know, actualize and make something, you know.
Hmm. Let's see here. Oh, I don't like my full moon video.
You did a full moon video?
I did.
Like as in full moon will sagashite?
Yep.
Sagashite. Yeah, whatever it's called.
Yep. See here. I don't like my big order review. Mainly because like if it was me now, I'd probably be talking about something different.
Am I louder now?
Yeah, you'd probably be talking about like
You're a little louder, Jekka.
That's good. That's good.
you'd probably be talking about something more like, I don't know, post-Marxist interpretations or whatever.
Oh, post-Marxist. What is this? Antonio Negri and Michael Hart.
I don't know who those people are.
They wrote a quote unquote post-Marxist book called Empire, which is a very
I've
it's a
heard of
very
that.
influential book.
Yeah, I've heard about it. I just didn't know who the writers were.
Okay. It's a very interesting book, particularly because of how people responded to it. Because like you had a lot of like orthodox Marxists coming out of the woodworks, and there's like, no, this is wrong. Let me tell you why it's wrong. It's like, oh damn, this is exciting. Let's see here. Can you make a video about the idea of weeaboo? I really can't, because I don't know much about weeaboo other than it's a wacky word.
It started off as a wacky word, right? The term
It was.
I would definitely say that there is now a defined subset of weeaboo culture, but what it's actually reflecting isn't consumers of media, rather it's reflecting creators of memetics. And so basically what you're looking at is a division between sincerity and irony in the consumption and like the relating of anime culture in the digital era.
It's reflecting this. There's like this sense of boundaries where
I feel like
not too much of a fan, not too much of this kind of fan.
Yeah. I feel like I noticed something. When we're struggling for words, you know, a lot of times, at least for me, I'll just blank or say a bunch of uhs or whatever. You know, maybe it's Joe, like with his academic background, I feel like he likes to put in a lot of like subjunctives and and like however, rather, therefore, and stuff like that.
Hell yeah, my dude.
Is that just like a habit from writing so many papers where you just have to transition between paragraphs all the time?
Hell yeah. I need to know exactly where I am at all times.
But yeah, I mean, the word weeaboo originally was a joke. It came from Perry Bible Fellowship.
Yep.
If
Perry
you know
Bible
what that is.
Fellowship.
Yeah, and what's it called? Where it was basically making fun of like hating people for irrational reasons. And then one day on 4chan, the admin swapped out all mentions of the word Wapanese for weeaboo, and it stuck. It was to make fun of people who were calling other people Wapanese, but apparently, you know, people just really like that. I think nowadays, I was actually talking about this with Digibro last night in private, but I think nowadays the phenomena of ironic weebs and ironic weeabooism is really a response to kind of like this elitist anime culture that kind of sprung up from like 2008 to maybe like 2012. Because like I'm sure Joe has, but has anybody else read like those David Foster Wallace essays on irony?
Oh, dude.
Way
Foster
back.
Wallace.
What?
You bring up the Foster what? Yeah, way back.
Huh?
Way back. A long time ago.
Yeah, Joe has, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So in those essays, he's talking about television and like people's response to it. He describes the obsession with irony as a way for people to escape from themselves, as a way to avoid being human or avoid the responsibility of possibly being wrong. Like they're afraid to be sincere. And I think that's basically what ironic weebs and meme weebs come down to. It's like, from experience, too often, somebody talks about, oh man, I really like this anime, and then you're just like, no, that anime sucks, and you're an idiot, and you don't deserve to be alive, and this is like a laundry list of reasons why your anime sucks. And when the community is so confrontational, the way you escape from that and still maintain some level of self-worth is you say, okay, well, my anime sucks, anime is shit, and let's just play Doki Doki Literature Club or whatever, and that's kind of how ironic weebism starts. It's because people get forced into these situations where they use irony to escape from the fear that they might be mocked or that they might be punished for being sincere. After all, if you're mocking yourself, then like nobody can mock you, right?
Yeah,
if you already admit your favorite show is shit, then it's like nobody can take that away from you.
Yeah, that's where like things like the new wave Giguk anime is trash and so am I movement has.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, right?
But it ends up fitting into like a lot of these like otaku ideas of I like this, but I don't sincerely like this. I like it in sort of like a jokey way, or like a lot. I feel like a lot of that media, like
it's a little different for being camp, because first of all, otaku culture has largely been sincere. Like, it's never really drowning irony. A lot of anime can be ironic, but like love for anime is not ironic. You talk to a really devoted Western otaku or Japanese otaku, you talk shit about their favorite idol, they're gonna punch you.
I think that's why we get a lot of irony, because it's so sincere. People are so secure in it being so sincere that it already becomes more fun. the more sure you are of how much you like something, the more you can joke about, but it's actually garbage.
Yeah. Because you want to deflate that. You don't want to leave yourself vulnerable to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think a large part of it is you also don't want to embarrass yourself. You don't want to be one of those super creepy otaku. You want to be cool and hip and have this hip transcendental cynicism about things. But again, it's just a way to escape from fear and stuff like that. I've known some sincerely devoted otaku, and I've lost friendships because I pointed out the fact that Honoka from Love Live did porn, and people just get very offended about that. They're like, no, she doesn't. Pure Girl, that was a different actress. You cannot convince me of that and shit like that, But
yeah,
again, the ironic weeb movement is very much a recent thing. And I think people like me and maybe Joe and other people are to blame for this sort of thing. Definitely Digi. Huh?
What? Blaming me for things? What?
Yeah, blaming people like you, me, or Digi, or whatever, Blaming people who are elitist about anime and make people feel uncomfortable about
Joe is not elitist.
I'm not elitist. Have you seen my...
not elitist at all. Not elitist at all. When you're talking about grammatology in a video about a goddamn Japanese comic book, yes, that's not elitist at all. That's
not elitist.
That's the picture of humility.
Man, it's just a thing that makes sense to me. It's just like hell yeah, grammatology, my dudes.
Jesus fucking Christ!
That reminds me of when I did a podcast about Evangelion, and I talked about it as a Deridian art form for like 5 minutes, and broke down crying.
See, that's another problem. I think that's another problem. I think. Huh? What?
The difference between Joe and an elitist, right? When Joe introduces something like that, he's saying like, "Hey, look, here's a show. Also, you can look at it from this way." But an elitist would be saying, you can only understand this show if you look at it through grammatology. You can only enjoy this show, but that sort of shit. That's an elitist in my opinion.
That's true. That's true. I'll give Joe props for that. I don't actually think he's, elitist. Did he leave? Where's Joe?
I don't know where Joe's gone.
Where the fuck is Joe? Where did Joe?
Just joined.
Joe left. I'm so sorry, Joe. Come back to us. Hello?
Joe's here.
All right, I'm back. Did I cut out?
Yeah, you cut out.
Yeah,
That's
before you left because you got called an elitist.
No. In reality, Joe's not really elitist. Like, you know, he might need some help grading his language, and I think he might be a terrible teacher, but not elitist.
Wow.
I'm joking. Christ.
You have this.
Someone in
Sorry.
the chat just said that anime snob is the ultimate elitist, and I would disagree with that. I don't think the snob is an
He's like the
elitist.
worst elitist. He's the
No,
worst
stop.
example.
Snob isn't really elitist. I mean, he is elitist, but like, he strikes me as somebody who gives too much of a shit about anime YouTube to really care, to really be so dismissive of anime YouTube, you know? Like, I don't give a shit about anime YouTube, but I also don't talk about it. I don't think it's worth mentioning. I think it's all full of idiots. Snob doesn't like anime YouTube, and yet he makes a career off of shitting on anime YouTube, and I just don't get that. Like, if you really hate it so much, why talk about it so fucking much, right?
But he doesn't come from a perspective that's like larger or interesting. It's just his own personal. I don't like this
Yeah.
because I don't like it. Because I don't like it. Did you know I didn't like this because I don't like it? And it just
And
doesn't
he's
go
kind, and
anywhere
he's
else.
kind of a racist too, so there's that.
Yeah. Kind of.
But yeah. We were. I think, as I was saying before, I think one of the weaknesses of things like academia is that it doesn't really have a whole lot of understanding of relevant context and stuff like that, right? You know, we're talking about these big prevalent ideas in the culture, things like ironic weaves and whatever, and you know, academia is like 5 years behind and still talking about things that happened in the mid 2000s because it's all reflecting in retrospect. It's kind of like, yeah, misses out on a lot of stuff, and a lot of academics just aren't as experienced. They might not be part of the target audience. They might completely miss the point. You know,
This
that's
is a
kind of
concern with
Yeah,
how
that's-
fast some things are moving. It does take like if you want to get a really good book out on a subject, that subject will be a bit less relevant or a lot less relevant in the time it takes you to put the book together and get it published.
yeah, but
Probably.
also like. I don't know if Joe would agree with this, but I feel like academics are very often not in the target audience of things, and as a result, they completely miss the point. You know, like Evangelion. Good God, that show has been discussed to
I
death
got
by
that.
critics.
Oh no,
Huh? Oh, did you hear me?
I can't hear anything. This is
Oh,
bad.
okay.
Jekko's squeaky voice is cute. Thank you.
But
Thank you.
yeah, I was saying before that I think that academics often aren't in the target audience for things like, you know, certain anime, and when they talk about it, it just feels like they're a little out of touch. You know, there's so many academic papers and shit written about Evangelion and crap, and whenever I read one, I'm just like, how do you miss the forest for the trees this badly? You know, and like it's a show that was, you know, kind of designed for lonely otaku nerds and shit, and it had a message very specific to those people. And when you look at it and you don't understand the cultural context of that, you come across with some very bizarre and different interpretations.
But there's the thing, because you say academics there, but I would delineate good academics and bad academics for like good academics can learn, like even if something isn't them, that they aren't the target audience for it, they can learn what it is and adapt into that position.
Oh
Whereas
yeah,
a bad
sure.
academic,
Sure.
yeah,
I'm just saying that
the saturation of papers on things like NGE, Ghost in the Shell, does
Yeah.
give away to like there's a lot of I wouldn't say good or bad academics because I'm just an undergrad myself. I don't feel like there are already a few really bad academics I've come across in life that I would actually say, holy shit.
no, I'm not saying
Like-
anybody's bad. I think they're doing their best with what they know and what they have. But I think a lot of times, like I said, it's just the fact that this sort of thing isn't very. Wait, did another Joe join the call? What the hell?
Yo, what up?
Joe's second account, yeah.
What?
The hell? Anyways, yeah, it just feels like the position of, you know, being a university and being writing academic paper and stuff, it's not terribly conducive to understanding these viewpoints. because again, academia is a very insular community, and you're not always going to be you're not gonna always have a whole lot of community outreach or understand the zeitgeist of what's going on. There's only so much you can do. Hold up in a room with a computer or a library, and only so much you can understand without real world experience, man.
This is the conflict we have, because
what the hell are you talking about, Econ? Everybody knows what Heidegger's .sign/./sign is, man. Easy.
Wait,
If
what?
I'm gonna,
I know who Heidegger is. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
if I want to talk about techne as a form of mediation of a naturalism, then just easy. So many easy words, my dude. Nope.
Dot
conflict we
slash,
have, like,
the dot
we have
slash what?
So
What?
dot sign versus dot
God.
hyphen slash sign.
Dot sign versus DOS. Hyphen
It's like
slash.
dot sign as being versus dot slash sign as being in world.
Joe, you sound way more drunk on this other account.
Hell yeah. Hey.
Yeah, like I
I'm
said, at
feeling it now.
at some point, it descends so much into theory that it's like, Lord.
Yeah.
I'd say Joe. Someone in the chat just asked on a scale of 1 to Joe, how drunk is Joe? I'd say he's at like a 0.25 of max Joe. I don't know.
Where's the scale end? You're
Oh,
going to
like,
increase the number. Is Joe
What are you
just
drinking?
10?
What are you drinking, anyways?
I'm drinking a bunch of tall boys by the Publican House Brewery. I think
Canadian alcohol. Never stop being funny.
I'm drinking
So
beer.
expensive.
Wait, how expensive?
Well, it's like a can is like $2.50, man. It's nuts.
That's not bad.
Oh, it's
That's not that
pretty
bad.
bad. Pretty bad for Ontario.
Australian who like for a can of like fucking beer is like I think it's like $5 usually.
I'm sorry, Joji, but I refuse to play these games of relativism here. This is expensive.
Yeah. I'm drinking Belgian beer that I bought from a supermarket that was more expensive than that, conversion-wise. It's good, but
Okay, so what was going on before I derailed this whole thing?
well, I agree with Econ here. Like, I think there's a conflict between two whole pockets of people talking about anime, because you have the academic circle, all sorts of connections going on, people looking at stuff, but they do have this problem of their process usually puts them behind on things or misses out, like not seeing the forest for the trees or not being as accessible. But then on the other hand, you have YouTubers who can do those things and be like on point with everything, every little thing that happens in the world of anime, but they miss out on the discipline and expertise the academics
No,
have.
I completely agree with this. Again, like Digi took some like weird ADHD medication, and we had like a 10-hour conversation last night. But we were discussing this particular idea, and yeah, Digi on drugs is weird. But we were discussing this particular idea, and like, how most of us were just kind of posers, like we were just kind of talking out of our ass. We might know a lot about anime, but in terms of critical theory and stuff and the ability to analyze, like we would use the example of something like Sakuga Buru and Sakuga Blog and people like that, and Sakuga nerds in particular. And they know all sorts of information about the people, the history, which animator did which. But then you ask them to explain like the aesthetic principles or why this scene was important to the story, or like
they just don't.
why they just like. They
Apart from the fact that but this person made it, and therefore it's good.
Yeah, aside from the fact that this scene is really pretty, they can't really explain this sort of thing, and or look at aesthetic context. Oh, what the hell is going on?
People are trying to get into this as well. Like a perfect example. So there's a video by Dynamic Romantic. On the first video, he tries to do Sakuga analysis. I put that in quotes. Analysis. So when he starts talking about Sakuga, he just shows it like silently and like awkwardly on screen and says, "Look at how good it is." And doesn't say anything. It's just like no.
Not just him.
About it.
Same thing with Gigix video. Same thing with everything Cana Perfect does. you know, great guy, knows a lot about Sakuga, knows a lot about animation, but. And yeah, I was watching one of his videos about Megumi Kono. I'm like, man, the mainstream YouTubers do a video on Megumi Kono. And like, Megumi Kono is such a cool woman, and she does all this shit. And I want to hear him talk about why Megumi Kono is a god. And then it's just like, here's an introduction to Megumi Kono's work. She started out doing blah, blah, blah. And then she did the Idol Master. And then she worked at A1 Pictures. I'm just like...
the Wikipedia entry.
Yeah, exactly. Why am I watching this video that boils down to an Anime News Network data post? So...
Like, I can watch that sort of thing for a bit of info, and I feel like, oh, I learned something. But I don't learn it... Like, the way I learn things and the way I remember things.
Most of the information I knew already, but it's like... Yeah. It just strikes me as really pointless. And a lot of... devoted anime fans who are really passionate about it and learn a lot about anime, yet aren't trained classically in discourse or criticism. They conflate fact for knowledge, and I think that's a big issue. They conflate memorizing a lot of specific facts about things, and they confuse that for an understanding of it. Like, I can memorize Huh?
What I hate the most out of when I was talking sometimes with Sakuga analysts, critics, and just trying to get this sort of like, okay, how are you criticizing? What are your principles? What are your methods? And just like asking them questions and pressuring on this thing or that thing, trying to work it out. And what I keep finding is a lot of these people are film studies graduates or undergrads, or just have a big interest in film studies, but they don't really care about there being any difference between cinema and animation. Even though they know all this knowledge about how animation gets made, the way they read anime and any animated film is like basically the same way that they read cinema. Down to things like apparatus theory.
I think there's a lot of crossover there. I wouldn't berate that too hard. There's something. I don't something like apparatus theory. I don't think there's like anything wrong with reading anime as film. That's fine. What I'm concerned about is a lot of these people just don't have any film training at all, or they don't have any training in criticism or trying to understand aesthetic principles or story. That's another big thing at all. It's just like it's just anime fans talking about anime and using their limited understanding, and that's a problem because the people with the factual knowledge are not the people with the critical discipline, and the people with the critical discipline very rarely have adequate amounts of factual knowledge. No offense.
Personally, I like.
Hey, Roger, what's up? What are you talking about?
Yo. Wait.
What'd you say? What'd you say?
Oh, George, what'd you say? Oh, you're cutting out.
Yeah.
Oh, he was working on if you can.
Starting to.
Yeah,
I like Canepa because he's like Billy Mays of Sakuga, and he's just like screaming like a nutcase every time he does a video.
That fucking screaming voice. Good lord.
I find it hilarious.
I find it unbearable.
Yeah, I kind of.
I find it unbearable.
Canepa is kind of, you know.
I'm insecure.
I watched the Canepa video and I enjoyed it on the download.
I'm insecure about the way my voice sounds, but I know at the very least I don't have to sound like Canepa. Good lord. that man sounds like he's having an orgasm whenever he speaks. This is my favorite animator. Favorite.
When Canepa
I'm imagining Canepa in bed talking about Sakuga to get off. Oh
god. When Canepa moves to Japan, he should host like the show where it's just him traveling around Japan and he's like, "We're on the hunt for animators." And it's just like he hides it. He gets out the binoculars.
He him into his van.
He's in Japan, isn't he?
Cool. Yeah, I think
he's moving to Japan this year.
Oh, what does he do? Is he like an English teacher or some shit?
He edits videos for Crunchyroll, for Twitter specifically. That seems to be the most stable thing that he does.
Stability. I don't know. I don't give a shit about that. I invested in Cardano. I'm good for life. No, seriously, I dropped some money into that when it was at like 21 cents, and now it's up to $1. It's crazy.
Wow. Okay. Not bad.
Anyways, what were we talking about?
Have that luck.
Yeah.
What were we talking about? My one thing with the difference between people talking about film crit and people talking about like criticizing anime was mainly like loads of people are applying very casually or trying to apply professionally like theories and structures, but these would often be underpinned by things like apparatus theory, and I just like I have to just resist the urge to say anime doesn't have a camera. The apparatus is different. You can't just apply apparatus theory.
Well,
actually,
there is
Lamar would be angry
in
about
animation. There is a camera in Maya because in Maya you need to set up multiple.
Oh no, Maya 3D.
No,
like, there is an entire cinematic there's an entire cinematic framework which you can utilize even to critique animation. Like if you watch the film Zootopia, there are scenes that, because it's in animation, fundamentally make sense and that cinematically wouldn't have otherwise. And that is lending towards analyzing the animation of it rather than analyzing it as a as if it were functioning through a camera. But then when you look at your vast majority of anime, I guess not vast majority, but a decent amount of them, you can apply the same rules that you would apply with a standard, the way that cameras function.
I would disagree. I think you miss out on a lot of things and a lot of the way animation works and the way it's presented to you, the way we read it. If we just view it as sort of like a subsidiary of film, a subsidiary of something that is film.
I agree with that. But
a great example of this.
Elements of film that we can carry over to the critique of anime.
Yeah,
I think fundamentally animation is a subset of film, and while not every, you take any film class, they do make a distinction, and they talk about how film has its origins in animation and zootropes and stuff like that. I'm sure Joe knows all about it, but he probably has to teach some intro level classes about that shit all the time. But but like
a good example.
I think a lot of times people put too much emphasis on the fact that anime is animated, and they don't realize that, again, cinematic principles apply the same here as everywhere else. Shots are still shots. Cinematography is still cinematography. And while you might have more flexibility with things like composition, ultimately, it's even the most abstract anime can be compared to some expressionist German film from the 1930s or whatever. And,
oh god. Dr. Caligari's cabinet.
Yeah, Dr. Caligari's cabinet and shit like that. And is Bakemonogatari's industrial scenes really that much different from Eraserhead and shit? It's like animators
are example of what I'm getting at. So in Digibro uploaded a top 10 anime clips exclamation mark.
Oh, yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I never watch any Digi. I just make fun of him.
In that video, there's a point where he starts talking about Hyouka and says he's not very interested in Hyouka. But there's this he says that there are these myriad of shots in it that you look at it and think about the way anime is made, and it should blow your mind that there's such a seamless transition of the characters between different levels, different sort of planes of depth in these shots. And if we just view Hyouka just as film, it doesn't strike us as much because it just feels competent. But if you remember its animation, you can appreciate much more that there's so much effort that's gone into animating the characters.
Unfortunately, effort by itself does not make a good movie. Otherwise, Waterworld would be the best fucking movie ever made.
It's not. Yeah, it's an engine
is the best
meaning of the film. The fact that they decided to do that, they decided to put effort there signifies to us like, okay, that must be meaningful, that must be useful or important. Why? And then we start thinking about it. Whereas if we don't register that there was so much effort, we may not think about it as much.
Maybe not, but again, we shouldn't judge the quality of a film or anime by how much effort that was put into it.
I'm not Josh Dillon. I'm not Josh Dillon at all.
Okay, first of all, don't hate on Josh. He's a personal friend.
He has made this point to me specifically.
What?
That we should judge quality partly by like least partly objectively, by the effort that has been put into something.
Well, Josh also believes that we should have a canon of anime. So, anyways,
like
Anyway.
you can certainly
Emotion
appreciate-
canon?
I would believe that
Oh, shut
if you're
up.
talking about an artistic canon, I believe that anime not only has one, but it's rather well defined. You know.
Okay, wait, that's a topic for a different time. But so I'm just going to talk about the whole effort shit now. I think that can certainly improve your enjoyment, and you certainly understand things on a different level by looking at the amount of effort that went into it. But like, it doesn't. If you're thinking about the meta narrative that deeply when you're watching, something like an anime,
I'm not saying look into
it's
it.
already-
I'm talking about the basic ability for the viewer, reader, whatever you want to call them, to register efforts like naturally as they're watching something. There are points in like great directors' films where we can realize that the shot was complex, hard to do, very specific, and we don't take
Yes,
a while
yes,
to think, oh, the
but-
director does that. We just
but-
get this
but-
natural sense of.
But we're not
that was-
watching. But we're not watching anime as tech demos. We're not watching anime or films as tech demos.
No,
If
exactly.
a shot is pretty, if it took a lot of effort, and we're impressed with that, but it doesn't contribute to the story, it doesn't build any aesthetic, and it's just there, then what's the point?
Yes.
Really,
the
that's
Yes,
actually
yes,
a complaint.
but-
That's actually a
but-
complaint I have with a lot of like Sakuga people.
Yeah,
They talk
but
about
the
how much
fact
effort goes
we
into a
found it-
scene, and how
It's the fact
well
we found
done
it
it is.
impressive that
Yeah.
makes us want to then say, okay, what does it greater encourages us to think about the meaning, to think about the weight it has on the rest of the story. When something just impresses us in terms of spectacle, that starts working upwards into okay, how does
I'm not gonna deny the value of spectacle. Okay, I never said that spectacle by
Yeah.
itself was worthless. What I'm saying is there are spectacles that are also fairly easy and don't take that much effort. Spectacle
Yeah.
and visual splendor is not a 1-1 correlation with the amount of time and effort that you put in. Some of the most
Exactly,
visually
yeah.
impressive scenes I've seen in anime or film have been, pretty simple ones that probably took them 2 minutes to sit down and do. Like, there was
But
that
would you
scene.
agree that there
There was
are
that scene.
spectacles
There
of
was
effort?
that scene. Huh?
Would you agree that there are spectacles of effort? That there are particular ways where we can do something, and the viewer or reader should know from looking at it. Oh, that was hard to do. And then
I
if it
think
doesn't
so.
accomplish anything, then
I think that
That's-
depends, but I don't think that should factor in your judgment of the aesthetic quality, right? And I don't think that
So
you
to
should.
clarify,
I think we're talking about cross purposes. We're talking from cross purposes.
Yeah,
So you're
Joe.
talking about how
Joe, you were
one.
saying?
So yeah, Joe.
so to clarify to the people in the chat. Now, when you're using the word spectacle, are you referring it as small s spectacle, or are you referring it to like big S spectacle, like a Debordian spectacle?
Oh, I'm just
I'm-
talking about. I'm just talking about it in terms of particular scenes that are impressive.
I think I'm using the Aristotelian sense here, if that clarifies anything.
Aristotle. Oh,
I know, right? How pretentious.
That's what I generally default to when I talk about spectacle. I mean, I think it's still useful, but it's what Econ's saying.
Wait,
It's
Joe,
actually-
are you talking about that long Marxist article or whatever?
are you talking about the Society of the Spectacle, Roger?
I'm not talking about that, if that helps.
Mm.
And I did also hear small ass spectacle at first.
Yeah.
Small S spectacle.
You want to
And I do think that a lot of times, visually appealing scenes and great spectacles are the product of, ironically, less effort. They're the result of people trying to cut corners and find more efficient and stylistic ways to abstract
That's a good
ideas. For example, again, a show like Bakemonogatari, that was like a brilliant show born out of every single attempt they could make to cut down budget. Like, what are we gonna do so we can avoid animating background characters? I know. How about just not have any background characters at all? And it ended up giving the show a very theatrical
Yeah.
atmosphere. That was lovely. So, like I said, effort is not a 1-to-1 correlation with.
But I never said
quality.
that. It's okay.
That's what you're saying. You're just saying we should appreciate effort.
I'm saying
Not just for the sake of they put a lot of hard work into it and give them a participation trophy in our minds.
when you have a well, I say greater, I feel like this is like if you have a proper appreciation of how anime works, how it works a bit differently to cinema, then you can register effort. Then when that is important, when it is important that we register that someone put effort into this so we can become more interested in it and it helps us think about this or that, we can register that. Without that sort of like understanding,
Oh
we may not
sure.
then we may not.
I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that. But I'm saying that you don't need that. What I'm saying is you don't need that understanding to have a valid opinion on anime. You can come at it as a film critic who knows nothing about animation, can't appreciate Sakuga, and your opinion is perfectly fine. You shouldn't. Generally speaking, you shouldn't be designing anime only for anime aficionados. There might be shows like that. There might be shows that want to play around with meta narratives,
But here we're talking about language, and reading language.
Yeah.
You say aficionado. You're talking about like an up there sort of like, oh, you need to all this thing, because that's how some Sakuga people I think come across. I'm just talking about like there should be some like baseline things, like the ability to just for understanding and feeling like the fact that go back to the fact that animation is animated. Anime is not this just attempt to make something. We wanted to film it with a camera, but we couldn't, so we drew it instead.
No.
But some people literally like that. Some people like that.
Instead, like impose a division. They are both multimedia forms that exist, and they have a commonality to language. But they are in themselves two different multimedia forms. I
think we agree on the fact that anime and film have their differences, and anime has some, considerations that must be taken up in its particular case. But that overall, techniques for cinematic critique can apply to anime just as well.
It's important to distinguish the two because of how film as a body of media and animation as a body of media, they speak to each other in various ways, and they've informed each other. And you can't talk about how they've informed or spoken to each other unless you're distinguishing them actively, because otherwise you just learn them into the same thing.
Well, I mean, films influence other films. If you're just trying to talk about the distinction between sets and subsets, whether this animation is a subset of film and all that crap, then I think that's a pretty pointless conversation. But all I'm trying to point out is that animation has a lot of commonalities with film, and it's perfectly legitimate to use many film critique techniques for animation. Now, does that mean that a critique of animation is complete without these, considerations for animation, without thinking about how this is different because it's animation? No. But does that mean that animation should be judged by its own standard, that they're completely distinct from film? I don't believe in that either.
It's not about these extreme. It's about if you're going to use something that's heavily like a film theory sort of thing on anime, you can do that. You should do that often. But your critique becomes better for me if you show that you're appreciating these differences between me. It's like a good example of this, I think, is in my degree, this appreciation we've had to have between like, what is poetry and what is prose? What are the different theoretical toolkits for the two? How do they cross over? But how do we still distinguish what is poetry and what is prose? And it's a common question I was getting, especially my first year of grappling with this, where I was applying some theory, and then my tutor would say like, oh yeah, but doesn't this count as poetry? And isn't this theory more to do with prose? In a way to try to, not because they are incompatible, but to try to get me to argue why I should be applying this theory to something that someone would class as poetry. It's important to, if you apply film crit to anime and then show me in the process that there are distinctions that should be made and limitations of this, like if you apply apparatus theory but then actually say, of course we're only here working off the fact that there's an implied camera, but this still applies, you may very well convince me because you said that. But otherwise it feels like you're just applying it because it's all you know.
Apparatus theory is stupid anyways.
I'm kind of sucking Lamar's dick here, I think. So I really like. I just like Thomas Lamar's approach to like.
I think Joe at this point has just been relegated to somebody in the background just making noises whenever people say something interesting. Like, ooh,
bruh.
I don't know. I don't know.
I am best friends with Thomas Lamar, and we are going to go eat shrimp at discount price.
Yeah, though, Joe.
At the Journal of Animation Studies convention. Take that, AX.
Damn.
Oh, damn.
Man, I'm still so pissed I didn't get to see you at AX. I just spent the entire time drinking with Digi. That's probably a bad idea.
Well,
Actually,
that was
no.
weird, right? Because like I talked to Digi before AX happened, and I was like, we need to do a drinking contest because I drink a lot.
Digi's
Digi drinks a lot.
He does not drink a lot.
Huh?
He's actually a
Oh.
pretty lightweight. He just talks about drinking.
Damn.
He just like I drink more than Digi does. You know who drinks a lot? I had the pleasure of drinking with Giga too. That guy drinks a lot. That guy drinks like a fish. And like he's a big rich boy. And he flew all his friends over from Britain, and they just like, ooh, yeah. I don't remember that night. I think we drank too much.
What does he drink though? What does he drink?
I remember we started off with beer, but then we started taking shots.
Lager or
That
real
was
ale?
probably a bad idea.
Was it lager?
Huh?
Was it lager
I
or
don't
real
know.
ale?
I don't
You
know. I
should
wasn't
know.
paying. Dude, we had
You
so
should
many
know.
drinks. We had so many drinks. I can remember this shit.
I literally can't drink beer around people without working out like whether they're drinking lager or real ale, or whether I should be happy or sad about that.
What's it called? Where are you from, dude?
Black me. What, me?
What? Yeah.
UK. I'm currently at
Okay.
Oxford.
Is like IPA a thing over there, like it is over here in America?
Yeah, India Pale Ale. You know.
Yeah, because it's kind of like a hipster thing over here. So I was wondering if it was the case in Britain.
In Britain, like if you drink lager, you're seen as either you are 19 to 21, or you're trying to pretend you're still 19 to 21, and you don't know what you're doing, or
Really?
or you're just trying to impersonate someone who's foreign and cool, but again, you don't know what you're doing. Good.
Is
like,
there
good-
is there a whole lot of like stout drinking over there? I figure if anywhere is I would drink
Our real
stout.
ale scene. So America's real ale scene is awesome and diverse. I have a bunch of friends who are really into that. But over here in Britain, like America is always like sort of like a shadow of what Britain's doing. Also a very experimental shadow. So there's sometimes to do really weird shit that we don't do with beer. But yeah, it's so good. You can go down at most pubs, and any pub with a good bunch of guest taps, just like a few times a week, will keep changing
Yeah.
between like multiple different regional beers.
Speaking of somebody in the chat, I didn't remember nothing from drinking with Giga. I remember we had a lot of fun, and I remember I was chatting with him.
That sounds good.
And I was talking with him, and we were talking about how I thought that anime YouTube was just a bunch of dudes masturbating, and like it was completely
Seriously?
pointless. And then Giga was like, "No, dude, we actually have some influence here. Look at all the Japanese animators that follow me, and the fact that Japanese people watch me." And then like my disgust at anime YouTube turned into absolute horror, because it's like there's like a generation of future animators that's gonna grow up watching Giga.
Generation of future
Oh yeah, I
animators
remember
growing up
that.
watching Alex
And
Myers.
Jekko and I, we made fun of it the entire time.
Made fun of what?
We were
Oh.
making fun of your tweet about that back when it happened.
Yeah, that's what made me think
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
I should start the channel and make some videos. But then I got caught up doing other stuff like translating manga and video games and stuff.
Yeah, I'm translating an Yashike manga right now, which is called Chirori.
I'll be back in a second.
And it's like the first chapter is the easiest thing in the world because there's like no text at all.
What's it called?
That's the In Another World. I am a
No.
refrigerator.
What's it called?
Chirori.
Spell that.
Chirori. It's about a girl who goes to be a maid during the First World War.
Oh yes, I heard about this. It says that nobody's translating it though, so you're full of shit.
It just came back to hearing
Nobody's-
someone full of shit.
Well, my anime list does not accept my translations, and nor
What's it
does
called?
all these
If-
other
if you have a-
institutions.
If you have a script, what's it
There's-
called? I can get it typeset for you. I mean, if you have a script, I can get a typeset
yeah.
for you. I don't know
I'll,
if you do that yourself.
Well, I kind of just like scribble on top of the. I just like scan the things in, and then I just scribble on top of it.
Oh, good God, you're
Yeah.
disgusting. There's not even any redraws.
Classic.
Was this the same author that did? Was this the same author that did Michael-chan or Michael-san about the geisha?
I think so. Yes. Yes.
Oh my god, I love that manga. Yeah, sure. Yeah, and then they make food together, and it's like, oh, I love that manga. That's so good. Yeah, sure. Send me the scripts you have. I'll get a typeset for you.
Yeah, I actually have to make the script first because it's just like scribbles on top of things. But like, it's probably not gonna be for like 2 months because like I got so much random shit to do.
You're useless. I'm gonna translate it first then.
All right, whatever.
No, seriously, if you have it, then yeah, send it to me. But man, there's just so many good manga that are untranslated, man. It pisses me off. And it pisses me off when like you're working on manga and then it gets famous and popular, and then Manga Stream decides, hey, we want that money, so let's just start sniping it for you, and it's annoying. I mean, not because like
miserable.
Oh yeah, not because it's like, you know, I really mind that somebody else wants to translate something, and I'm not that offended. But like, there's a billion great manga out there, a billion manga that if they were translated, people would actually, they would actually be popular. Right? You just decide to work on some already popular franchise, and it's kind of despicable. I don't like it.
Mm.
You know what's a good fucking manga? I recently just finished reading Kaku Kaku Shikajika. That is good shit. It's an autobiography of the mangaka of Jellyfish Princess Kurage Hime, and it talks about her. It talks about her experiences as an art student in like 1980s Japan, and about her like mentor, who is this like super hard ass art teacher that was kind of like the guy from Whiplash, except instead of throwing chairs, he threw bamboo swords at people. And it's like the best thing ever. It's one of the best manga I've ever read. People need to read that shit. So good.
I just need to read more manga.
Oh, so it's basically just fucking Aoi Hono. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not. It's a lot more personal. It's a lot about the relationship between this like young girl and her art teacher. I mean, not relationship, but it's like a mentor-mentee relationship. It talks about, you know.
I'm glad you clarified that because I easily think otherwise.
Yeah, but it talks about like the manga industry, how you get into the manga industry, art schools in Japan, but also about this intimate relationship the two had and how they affected one another's lives, and it's just a beautiful thing, which is surprising because I think most their other manga are crap. But
I've been reading a little known art house manga by the name of Gran Crescenki. The girl wears a stripper outfit.
yes. I was like, Grand Crescenki? No, Grand Crescenki. Yes. I know that. That's old though. That's old though. That's old though.
Classic art house.
Didn't that get made into an anime?
Outfit mage. Yeah, it's being adapted into an anime right now.
Oh yeah.
Classic stripper outfit mage. Very arbitrary crest system. Hell yeah.
Were you reading that manga about what was it? The isekai manga where the guy was reincarnated as a kid, and then there was a scene where the maid gets pregnant?
Mushoku Tensei?
Yes, that one.
I can't believe I know that. I'm kind of pissed.
Huh? Well, yes, we all know that you have shit taste and you read too much isekai. That's taken for granted.
I'm reading
Never too much
240 isekai manga at once.
What's it called? If you ever felt
all over your wall.
If you ever felt insecure about how, you know, smart Joe is, just remember that how much fucking isekai bullshit he reads.
It's just so much.
Lol.
I mentioned that to Lamar. I was like, yeah, I'm just reading 240 isekai at once, and he's just like, I guess that's something people can do.
Brilliant.
Wait, are you actually like personal friends with Lamar? Like Thomas Lamar?
Like I'm friends with Lamar, if that's what you're asking.
Really? I'm surprised by that. I guess he is Canadian.
Wait, why are you surprised?
because Lamar is like relevant.
He's a
Wow.
he's a Canadian academic who lives like 2.5 hours away from me.
Seriously?
No,
Wow.
I don't. But yeah, when I think of Lamar up in my head, I don't immediately think of the screaming drunken Joe.
Yeah.
Who falls into the Geotag whatever.
I read that Anime Machine and some of his other stuff, but I'm just like,
Oh, I love that book. I love it.
yeah,
if
but
you've read that, you know what I'm talking about. The differences between the apparatus with film and anime. I'm not going to go back.
dude, I read that book like 5 years ago. Cut me some slack. I don't remember everything.
That's fair.
Yeah,
Hey.
it's kind of a hard book to remember off the top of your head because there's just so much stuff going on.
Yeah.
Like I remember little tidbits in there, but like I have a hard time remember the whole thing.
I need to read more manga because the only manga I've been reading recently is hentai.
Manga. I need to read more manga.
I'm tired.
Manga. I need to read more manga.
And yeah,
Manga.
I've just been reading.
manga.
Man, mom, get me my mangas. I need to read my mangas.
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 Fuck off.
That is
What's
such a pedantic thing to get on his
It's
case
not a
about.
pedantic thing. You know, you gotta
I'm
pronounce
sorry.
the words right. It's manga.
This is a qu-
There's no S. It's plural by itself.
I didn't say an S though. I didn't mean
Oh, no,
to.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
well, most of
I'm just fucking.
yeah,
Oh,
most
you're
of what I've been reading is hentai for good reasons mostly.
No, I read way too much manga. It's like, oh. And then I read books on manga and manga criticism, and it's like, it's too much. The nice thing about manga, though, is that you can speed through it, or like, you can take it at your own pace. With anime, it forces you to be a lot slower. You're just like,
1.5 speed it, you know.
no, actually, I think that's kind of something interesting. I don't think you see people bring up enough.
Step
Because,
one,
like,
watch on 1.5 speed. Step two, the pacing was off. Step
in this new season, there was a show that aired called Yuru Camp. And I read the manga before. I thought it was really nice, good. But like, what struck me about the anime was that the anime doesn't have the limitations of being in like this, 11 by 12 or however big the manga page size is. It's not restricted by this frame, and you don't have to design things around that, and you don't have to compress your information to fit in there. You can be slow and methodical. You're not worried about that 30-page limit they have for manga magazines. You can spend like 5 minutes on scene for gathering firewood, while in the manga it was a single page. And
This is
that
what I like.
completely,
You're appreciating mediums, yeah.
yeah, and it's like it's just an interesting thing because in the adaptation, the sequence of events is not changed. Yet just because of the fact that one is a manga, one's an anime, they can completely restructure how time is perceived in that. It's like. It's super interesting. I haven't completely wrapped my head around it. It'll probably take some thinking, but like, it's interesting stuff to think about. The, connotations of time that paneling brings.
This is why if they-
You think about like Taiyo Matsumoto and stuff like that, and how space and time is always distorted when it comes to his manga.
Yeah.
I also reread Takemitsu Zaburai recently, which is a riot. Did you ever read that, Joe? You seem like the kind of guy who'd be into artsy fartsy stuff like that.
No, I read
Wait,
Isekai, my dude. Come on. All I read is Isekai.
He reads isekai. All I read at the moment is hentai.
I remember
Yeah,
that
I
one.
know
I remember that one Jiro Taniguchi story where
Which one?
he becomes like a 10-year-old self.
Oh, yeah, that's
Or-
one of my favorite. That's Harukana Machie.
Hell yeah!
Harukana, yeah, I love
And-
that shit.
I was reading it. I was just like, wait a minute, he's not in another world. So I was so disappointed at that. No, but like I'm really drunk right now, so I don't know if I'm really the best person to
Yeah.
ask about things.
But like in
I wish I could drink alcohol.
like looking at the discussion of time in manga, like one of the really interesting ones to look at for that is Gantz, because like
Gantz? Gantz?
Yeah.
Classic Subibuke,
Gantz?
my dude.
Gantz?
Yeah, Gant.
Classic Subibuke.
Gantz?
Yeah.
Gantz.
Gantz? Okay,
Gantz.
whatever. You know.
I'm just being fun. I'm just being a dick at
I
this
read it
point.
when I was a 12-year-old Australian, so it was, you know, ingrained
Oh,
in
okay, so
as
so
Gant.
what are you, 20 years old and no longer Australian?
18 and still Australian.
You might be able to outgrow puberty, but you'll never outgrow Australianism.
Right, this guy says, what do I think about Asanagi's
Australian.
work? I haven't read Asanagi's work much.
Who?
Hentai artist Asanagi. I don't
Oh,
think
of
I've read
course,
his-
Fatal Pulse. Yes, I adore his stuff. My favorite is the Idol Master Cinderella Girls Dojin featuring Sachiko Koshimitsu getting Harapod. Ugh, that is the hottest shit ever
Yeah,
made.
I should check out more of this. Like, I guess it's not often like the tags I probably search for when I'm looking at the moment.
What, Asanagi? All he's into is like weird amputation and Rona stuff. But like his art is really good, even though all his characters have the same face, and it's lovely. It's lovely. If you enjoy girls getting punched in the stomach, there's nothing better than Asanagi.
Same face. Same.
Huh?
Sorry, just doing a feminist meme. You'd say it's great that all his characters have the same face, but some people would say that's a sign of misogyny. He wants all women to
All
look
women
the
to
same.
look the same. If all women in the
That's
world
what he
looked like an
draws from that.
Asanagi character, I'd be happy. I'd be very happy if all women in the world looked like Asanagi characters.
I don't care what women look like because I will respect them regardless. Hashtag for Neverworld. When are we collabing? Everybody in the voice chat.
What the fuck is For Neverworld?
Wait,
Oh god.
He's,
Well, Neverworld is that guy who
he's a monster.
translate the manga there.
he's
What?
not just a manga tuber though, because he also does episode reviews and stuff.
Never heard of him.
He got in some beef with
I
last year over piracy.
With who?
want to ask everybody who is listening to this right now, everybody who's in this live chat listening, everybody typing, everybody listening, just like in the background, please, I want you to hear me out. I have a very humble request. Please tweet at For Neverworld and ask him when are we collabing.
Okay, I'm doing it.
I feel
I
like
need to
we
Google
can make something
What the fuck
happen.
is For Neverworld? For Neverworld.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna tweet at it.
Please
Do it.
tweet at For Neverworld and ask
Is
him
he
when we
like? Is he like
collab.
Mexican? Is he like Mexican or something?
I don't know. I have no
I get.
idea.
Judging
Okay,
by
tweet
the
him.
amount. Judging by the amount of like Dragon Ball
Nice.
art in his background, I'm guessing that he's a spick.
Jesus Christ.
We're
I do
about to
not-
get demonetized.
I do
Oh,
not
yeah, shit.
appreciate these.
My bad. He is Latin American. He is Latin American. Latin
Okay,
Americans
cool, awesome.
Latin Americans for some reason really like fucking Dragon Ball. Oh my god, how many videos does he make? Put out like a video every day. What the hell?
Yeah, he's prolific. Quantity over quality.
King of Lightning is my favorite Latin American.
But Joe, when are you collabing with Alex Meyer?
Oh God, Alex Myers. Once again, I need to stress how much of a snake Alex Myers is.
Who's Alex
Bitch
Myers?
boy Myers. Oh, I
Who's
can't
Alex
say I'll
Myers?
kill him because that could get me in trouble. What?
Who's Alex Myers?
Oh boy.
He's a guy who makes like videos, but like he changes videos based upon like what he thinks is gonna make him popular. I've only seen one video by him, and it was a video on Osamu Tezuka, and it made me so irrationally angry that I left like the YouTube maximum in terms of comment like length.
You left a comment on it?
Yes. I left a
This is
comment,
such-
and it was like maximum length that YouTube allows.
This is such a naked fellatio of Tezuka. While there's,
Yes.
I mean, I left a pretty long negative comment on your video about Lolicon too. But while there was a lot of sentiments that do agree, blah blah blah, partially because this, yeah.
Who is this sassy, high-pitched man?
You should watch Alex Myers'
me?
video.
I'm just reading your comment.
It's like 9.
Anime has lost its way. There's just like there's Boku no Pico coming out every freaking season.
When you were talking about the confluence between merchandising and anime, that's really more of a Nagai thing, right? Because Mazinger was the thing that really pushed that into overdrive, not Tezuka.
Well, Tezuka was like one of the Tezuka is like one of the first major sites. You know, like the whole.
Oh yeah, I'm not denying that, but at the same time, Tezuka was one of the first major people. So it's like it's kind of obvious that he, would have some amount of merchandising, but like, if you're really talking about the booming anime merchandising, that's very much the toy boom with the mecha shit.
Well, yeah, sure, but I mean, like, I'm not talking about the boom. I'm talking about like, if we're going to talk about like Tezuka's influence, like that's
setting up an alternative distribution model compared to Toei, focusing on television and limited anime. That's a stretch. I agree about the alternative distribution models. Tezuka was pretty big on that, but limited animation, like anime has always been limited. It's always been limited animation. That's nothing new. Yeah.
You've seen Hakujaden?
Yes, I've seen Hakujaden. I've also seen Tetsujin ni Marugo. Have you seen Tetsujin ni Marugo? You don't get much more limited animation than that.
All the natural trajectories of anime.
Tetsujin ni Marugo,
but I mean, like the entire.
Nimarugo makes the Berserk CG anime look like Hakujaden.
But like the entire point of Tezuka's motto is that he legitimizes that limited animation by saying, "This is anime."
Only insofar as he made extremely popular anime. Like even before Tezuka, everybody was doing that shit. It's not like Tetsuwan Atom was the first TV anime ever made. Like I said, Nimarugo was hugely influential too, and it encouraged a lot of people to be pretty lazy with their animation.
Well, sure.
Joe's thing towards Alex Myers.
I think that's a bit of a stretch.
It's basically my thing towards Super Eye Patch Wolf at this point.
Okay, first, I don't think there's anything wrong with Super Eye Patch Wolf, but that's a different discussion. Secondly, why would you bring up Hibakusha without actually telling anybody what it meant? I don't think anybody reading this comment is going to know what fucking Hibakusha is.
Well, it's only for Alex Myers because he brought up.
Did Alex Myers know what Hibakusha is?
Well, he talked about post-nuclear survival story. So I was like, I'm assuming he knows about Hibakusha. So I threw it in. And I was like, yeah, fuck you, Alex Myers.
Okay, you mentioned Godzilla, Barefoot Gen. Implied Hibakusha Cinema. So how is Tezuka's message of loneliness and difference particularly unique? I mean, Tezuka's message was never. I mean, he was post-war, but he was never kind of so caught up in that sort of thing. He wasn't making. Huh?
I'm not making that. I'm not making the claim that it's particularly about that. That's actually what Alex Myers claims. I'm essentially saying if you're gonna say this, then why haven't you also considered these other things?
What, the difference between Godzilla and Barefoot Gen messages and Tezuka's messages of loneliness? The difference between these reactionary, films to, the fucking atomic bombing and Tezuka, which was pretty independent from that. I mean, I think the difference is pretty clear here.
Well, like it makes a lot. Like my comment makes a lot more sense when you when you watch Myers' video.
That's true. That's true. I'm just asking you to explain your logic there.
All right. What do you mean? Okay. So
okay. First of all, if you're just not capable because you're too drunk, I'll just drop the topic.
I think I got it, but that could also be drunk confidence.
Okay, we've got 4 people tweeting at 4 Neverworld so far. Let's keep this going.
Oh hell yeah! Keep that train going, boys.
Anyways,
your
comment verbatim is, I mean, you already mentioned Godzilla, Barefoot Gen, which is ironically blah blah blah, and seem to imply Hibakusha cinema in general. So how is Tezuka's messages of loneliness and difference particularly unique? And I say there's a lot of reasons why it's different and unique from those things that you mentioned, and from Hibakusha in general.
Okay.
Tezuka often works with much deeper historical contexts. When you read something like Hinotori and you bring back to Yamato and Ho-Oh and stuff like that, he tends to have these weird spiritual undertones to his work that you don't find in Hibakusha cinema. Remember, like, this was post-war Japan. The emperor's been dethroned. People are looking for meaning in their lives, and religion was actually a really big sore point. And Tezuka was, putting a lot of spirituality into his work. So I think there's a pretty big distinction right there.
I don't know. I mean, like, there's a lot of stuff about the spirituality of Hibakusha works, up into the point where there's literally like an entire field about like the spirituality of the trees of Hibakusha literature.
I guess.
But okay, so essentially, Myers' main argument is Astro Boy is unique because it talks about loneliness, and then he goes on to show other things that also have loneliness. And then I'm just like, fuck.
Well, yeah. If that's his argument, it's stupid. But I don't think your counter argument is very good either, because it's too general and inspecific. And you're talking about Tezuka's messages, but Tezuka's messages are actually more diverse, and there's a lot of stuff that's actually very distinct from Hibakusha.
I can't believe Econ's playing devil's advocate for Alex Myers.
I just like playing devil's advocate.
I mean, like, if you want to say it's too broad, ultimately that's a fair comment. I think
if you just said what
that YouTube allows.
Oh yeah, sure. Maybe you just don't have room to be more specific, but like,
so, like I remember I had to like cut it down.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's a little bit because it's like there are definitely themes, that Tezuka touched on that a lot of, his contemporaries didn't. And that, they were pretty influential and stuff. So.
Well, yeah, sure. But I mean, like, that wasn't the purview of, like, Myers' video, right?
Yeah, sure. I'm not saying that it is. I'm just being pedantic about your comment.
Okay.
You know what's a bit annoying? The fact that Tezuka said that modern anime, is more like Hanna-Barbera cartoons than like that. I think that was the worst part of the video. I mean, the fellation of Tezuka was secondary.
Clearly see disinterest that you show two characters from School Days and Boku no Pico, which are pretty infamous, but not necessarily normative. Your name spirited away.
Wait, Smokeman has tweeted wrong. You're meant to tweet when is For Never World and Pause on Select collabing. He's tweeted when are we collabing? Just him. Why
actually, you know what? I think anime has gone exactly the way that Tezuka intended, in that it's become extremely fetishistic. And Tezuka was always kind of a weird, like, creepy, perverted old man. You remember when they found his porn stash? Wait, you heard about that? Joe, did you hear about that?
No, I haven't heard about that.
Oh, okay. Well, a few years back, they found Tezuka's hidden porn stash. Tezuka's hidden porn stash, and it was like all pornographic drawings of anthropomorphic mice.
Oh shit! Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
I realized.
Oh hell yeah, man, dude!
Have some of that shit.
So, yeah, I think anime went exactly the way Tezuka wanted, but.
But that's what animation is useful for. That's what the virtual is useful for.
I like the fact that somebody tied your name back to 311. That's pretty nice. I was in the middle of writing a script. I was in the middle of writing a script about that, but it was like
I'm making a video on your name. I'm making a video on your name.
Oh, okay.
Thomas Lamar.
That's fine. I don't think anybody's gonna understand it. Hopefully, I'll make a video that's a little more, lucid.
What's about the Great Hanshin Earthquake?
Huh?
Hell yeah! We talk about the Hanshin Earthquake for like good 20 minutes.
I think that's important to point out, but I also think everybody who's talking about like your name missed out on a lot of shit aside from that. The meta narrative, or like just Shankai and his like weird fetish for
bizarre and complex visual leitmotifs. Like, I'm surprised nobody's brought that up. That's actually such a big deal in his movies, and like, just nobody seems like in Your Name there were like 4 separate shots of sliding doors. And I'm just like, nobody picked up that this should be important.
There were a lot of sliding door shots.
Yeah. And I'm just like, nobody picked up that this is an important theme in the movie. What sliding doors are supposed to represent and shit. And it's like, fucking, fucking idiots on anime YouTube, I swear to God.
Mm-hmm.
I like anime YouTube. As someone who came from like anime, like live reaction.
There used to be anime live reaction?
Some people
hell
still
yeah,
do,
my dude. It still is.
The fuck?
It's a small group of people who just sit around and like watch Overlord in complete silence.
Jesus.
And then they say, "All right, guys, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe."
But I do think it's ironic that somebody like you is making a video about Your Name, because I remember when I was writing the script, one of the key ideas I had and I wrote down. And I was talking to Digi about was that I felt a lot of anime YouTubers were too white to understand the movie. No, seriously, the movie had a very specific audience in mind. It resonated with a lot of people in East Asia, and it's kind of like without this cultural context, you don't really understand what the movie is talking about, and then you just see it as a pretty stupid and mediocre romance with a body swap twist.
Hey, how's it going?
And there's a lot of stuff
here.
What? Who?
Yeah, because the people in
disappointed
the
anime
Amazon
community
rainforest
again.
don't understand the context of Your Name, thus it's a bad movie.
What are you talking about?
Man, I mean, like, oh no, I was just talking about like this conversation I had with Go Jesus. So first of all, I like Go Jesus. I like Mikkel.
I don't know who he is.
Mikkel.
Kind of sounds like a furry.
That is actually a very good guess. I
mean, anybody who puts an animal into their name sounds like a furry.
But like, my main thing about Go Jesus is that he has a problem with like habitus.
With what?
You don't know what habitus is, my dude? It's habitus. It's so easy.
I know what it is. Give me a second while I go look it up real quick. Oh yeah, it's this habitus. Yeah, I've heard about this before.
And so like he has this he oftentimes like runs into the situation where he's like he criticizes like a piece of work based upon like it's a very like imperialistic practice where he like criticizes a piece of work based upon like one specific framework of understanding something. So, like, one of the things you're going to come across a lot when talking with Mikkel is where he says, like, like this show should have showed this more, like it should have showed this more often. And it's just like, I mean, maybe you didn't pick up on it simply because that you don't live in the cultural mores that the show was built in. Maybe that's why. Because like that was one of the things when I had that conversation about Kimi no Nawa with Goat Jesus.
Yeah, let's just first take a second out and appreciate how much better that is of a name than Your Name, Kimi no Nawa. When you say that out loud, first of all, it flows off the tongue easier, and secondly, like. If you speak Japanese, there's like a natural inflection there. It's like Kimi no na wa,
It's a line in the film. If you watch it in sub, if you watch it in dub, there's this point where they say your name and it's like cringy rather than awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And because it's a natural phrase. It's something you just say. Like, hey, what's your name? Like, English. It's kind of like you don't just say your name. That sounds kind of like condescending and standoffish. You say like, "Hey, what's your name?" That'd be a way better title for the movie if it was just called, "Hey, what's your name?" or something like that. I don't know. Either way, Your Name sounds stupid. Kimi no Nawa sounds cool, but everybody's gonna fucking call it Your Name and blah 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 blah. Yeah. Anyways, go on, Joe. What were you saying? Sorry for the aside.
Oh, Oh, no problem. No problem. I'm too drunk to care. But yeah, I was talking with him. And he doesn't like it, right?
Who doesn't like it?
The Goat Jesus.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But like a lot of the criticisms that he levies against it, is firmly entrenched in like his particular way of understanding how a story presents itself.
I mean,
and so like that's the trap. That's the habitus trap.
Yeah, he's very personally insular.
See, I think there's like both a merit and definitely flaws to this approach. I think when you talk about like structural and formalist approaches to storytelling and whatever, there's definitely a lot of merit in looking at things like that. You can't look at everything with a fucking postmodern lens. There's.
Oh wow!
I'm a product of postmodernity. How can I stop?
Oh, shut up!
I'm going to change myself to postmodernism and select.
Do that, Joe.
The point is like there are things in writing and storytelling and pacing and whatever that are, if not universal, then nearly universal, at least towards an intended goal. Things that subvert these expectations, that don't fulfill like a 3-act story with development going here and an exciting climax and whatever. Those things are very intentionally so, and they're made with the specific idea that we're going to subvert these ideas and we're going to make the audience feel uncomfortable, or give them an anti-climax to think about and leave them with a feeling of catharsis, which is like the opposite of catharsis, if anybody doesn't know. I think that's something we should all do more often. Like when we use a big word, just be like, if anybody doesn't know, this is what we mean. But like
catharsis is not a big word.
No, it's not. It's just not a word that a lot of people know. But the point is, like, there's definitely merit to this kind of approach, and it's how I approach looking at movies and whatever. But obviously, I think that some cultural context is necessarily if you want to discover the truth of the movie and its intentions of what it meant.
Oh, truth, big word.
But at the same, oh, shut up. But at the same point. At the same time, I think it's also a little too much to expect people without these cultural contexts to tell them, hey, this movie is good and you should like this movie because it relates to people who live 3,000 miles from you in a country you know nothing about.
This is the good thing about criticism. Criticism is not just simply a polemic or just something you say. It's a conversation. It's always
exactly. So that's the nice thing about it.
Criticism that said exists for people to then come in and says, but are you aware of this? And your response really as a good critic should be, if you weren't aware of it, just say no and then start talking about how it might change or maybe doesn't change. It's just, you can relax. No. I don't get people.
I think the fact that Western fans don't like the movie so much or completely misunderstand the movie is actually extremely informative about the movie. The fact that there are white people who don't get the movie at all just goes to show how culturally important and how culturally resonant it is for that specific audience. And that's actually a very useful thing to know if we're talking on a dialectic level. When it comes to judging the craftsmanship of the movie, I think, yes, knowing the context and what it was trying to achieve is important, even if it didn't achieve these things for you personally, right?
My personal experience of Goat Jesus, so Joe had a thing with Kimi Nanoa. I had a thing with Erased with him, where we had this small argument where he got really annoyed at me because I don't like Erased. Again, it's a shitty. What's the original title? Boku no
Inaimachi or something.
Inaimachi.
Or was it Boku da Inaimachi?
It's Boku Dake ga Inaimachi.
Yeah, whatever. Boku Dake.
The town.
Wow, it's been a while since I thought about Erased. So
I don't know. I didn't like that manga. I think it was shit.
So I have a thing against Erased being the anime adaptation, just the anime adaptation at this point, being talked about as like it was labeled on Mount as a mystery, but I feel like it follows all the story beats of just a drama thriller where we're supposed to know.
Yes, exactly. I agree with that.
So there's this
I'm glad that somebody else,
great.
A fucking story.
It's so awkward talking about it where people are like, "Oh, but the killer was so obvious," and I'm like, "Yeah,
it's supposed to be obvious. It's a thriller."
It's like a Punch and Judy show. He's behind you. We know who the killer is, so it's ironic that Satoru is a bad detective. He doesn't realize it because he's too Oh, spoilers for anyone who hasn't watched the raid.
Well, yeah,
but,
that's kind of the point, though, isn't it? It's not supposed to be the third man. It's supposed to be,
Yeah.
What's a thriller? I don't know. Psycho. It's supposed to be Psycho. No, wait, Psycho was a mystery too. Whatever.
Psycho was a mystery. But Goat Jesus,
supposed to be- it's supposed-
Goat Jesus got annoyed. Sorry, Goat
What?
Jesus got annoyed at me because I was taking that hard line. I didn't think why. I was like, why do you think it's a mystery? I don't think it's a mystery. And so he just started like it started out as this sort of like, oh wow, we don't share the same philosophy with how we define things, so there's nothing to talk about. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, that's everything I want to talk about. But then he ended up making a secondary video, sort of like it seemed like an exact response to my. I don't know if other people had been talking to him about it, but if they had, then it was multiple people. If not, it was just me. He made like a short video, which was just him pacing around where he lives, talking about it, and revealed that the way he measures what's a mystery and what isn't is he uses like this one guy and this one book, which gives you this kind of like metric for rating different genres based on just elements they include. Just on elements.
I like that.
So I don't like it at all. So he was just like, I'm going to call it a mystery.
I think Erase was a terrible fucking manga. Just honestly, I don't get what everybody sees in that shit.
I think I had fun with it, but I also think that it's going to get weaker and weaker. The mark of a good show for me, it should get stronger every time I watch it. Unless I'm watching it.
I think that's a stretch.
As long as I'm reasonable.
I think that's
it shouldn't immediately start getting weaker. The second time I watched Erased, because I was watching it with my anime sock at uni, and I was just sort of like, there isn't as much to talk about or think about here, like apart from like distant sort of like observations I can make about shit.
Joe, are you still alive?
I'm still here. What up?
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you a little more about your opinions on Your Name. What's it called? I was wondering if you heard about the whole thing with senior citizens over there.
Senior citizens. What about them?
They really fucking love that movie.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, because I was after I watched that movie, I did some research and like I was on like the Japanese internet and all that shit, and like fucking old people really like that movie. And I thought that was a really salient point about the appeal of it. So I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Most of the people.
I knew that was the case for In This Corner of the World. I didn't know that was the case.
What?
Because
Like,
Your Name, the
most of
universal.
Most
In
of the
This
people
Corner of the World.
responding.
What?
Most of the people responding to the Fukushima disaster were the elderly.
I mean, it wasn't Fukushima as much as it was the earthquake. There was more to the earthquake than Fukushima.
Yeah, but I mean, so like, there's a particular resonance.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Well, I think it's also because like the movie kind of addresses a lot of concerns senior citizens have. Like because the movie is about like an urban-rural conflict and the decline of Japanese tradition, and dating back as far as like the 1950s when Ozu was making movies like Tokyo Monogatari and Ohio. Yep. Or Ohio, and I don't know how it's supposed to be fucking, but Ohio, but as far as, I mean, that's always been like a concern, and I guess it was exacerbated by the earthquake. And Your Name kind of gives them like a answer to that. It's very much about preservation of culture and stuff like that. So,
well, it's like it's drawing upon in particular like the work of like Nihon Shinbotsu from like the 1980s, right?
Really,
that's
you
what
think
people
so?
were like. Yeah, absolutely. Like that's what the Genron Circle was talking about, and I think they make a pretty good argument. Because like the end of Nihon Shinbotsu, it's the end of that is like you see, it's the shot of Japan, but it's like completely submerged under the water, and so like the question becomes like when you save Japan, like what are you actually saving?
That's true.
So I
never read that. I never read that novel. So, what's it called? Did you?
It's a movie.
I don't.
It's a movie.
No, it was a novel first.
Yeah, but I mean,
You watched the movie?
Hell yeah, my dude.
I
That
just
movie
remember. I never
entertaining.
watched that movie. I've just seen clips of it from like when the water's coming in. There's a meme where they play the song "Ocean Man" over it.
Oh, dear.
But like this is an interesting topic. I'd like to discuss with you further. When you're not fully drunk and we're not on this stream, so that I can maybe steal some ideas. So I can maybe steal some ideas. And hey, you can steal some ideas from me too. But
Equivalent
Wait, Jekyll.
exchange.
yeah, whatever. I mean that's the point of academia, right?
What is the best of the human soul?
It's academia. It's about engaging in dialogues and dialectics and learning about one another and combining our opinions and then stealing them and taking credit for it. That's all academia is about.
And you should distrust any academic content that disapproves of the dialogic model. Oh yeah. Anyone who's saying, no, don't talk to other people about it, just listen to me, you should probably think that they're crazy.
I mean, in 2016, they also released like Kono Sekai, whatever, whatever it's called. I can forget the full title. Japanese people need to stop coming up with so many fucking difficult full titles. But like I watched that movie, I did not think there was anything special about it. I don't think it had themes as complex or well executed as Kimi no Na wa. I think the only reason it won like the award for the best animation film at the biggest film festival in Japan is because the film festival was held in Hiroshima. I think that's the only reason it won.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. I mean, the Hiroshima Film Festival is a big deal,
Pretty
but
good.
you have to imagine a movie about, Hiroshima is gonna win in Hiroshima. That's like saying
Above and the
That's like
director
saying-
went above and beyond what a normal take on this would have done, because he was like he
Huh?
makes
hear
the
you.
correct weather on the correct day. All the environments were correct. All the background character that time period.
you're like cutting out, man.
Oh shit, man. All right. Well, the bottom line is beyond what normally a bunch of people would do. Like, he made sure that the weather was accurate for every single day that the movie took place on. He made sure that all the background characters were actual people that lived during that time period.
But, to me, it's like that's kind of irrelevant detail. I do appreciate the historical. I do appreciate the historical accuracy the movie has, and a lot of the historical detail. But to me, it feels in a way almost overly sentimental for a movie like this. I think Japanese people, they love to feel like in World War II they were the victims. They want more than anything to feel that they love movies that are about how much it sucked for them to get firebombed and then forget about Unit 361 and all that shit. But
is there anyone today who doesn't want to be a victim of something?
Huh?
The narratives are fucking hilarious.
Everybody wants to be a victim. Everybody wants to be a victim. But
I mean, to be honest, someone had described the film as Barefoot Gen meets Nichijou. I don't know how much I agree with that.
No, it's more like
Funny.
It's more like Barefoot Gen meets Yokohama Kairashi Kiko.
Barefoot Gen meets Nichijou.
Because it was kind of in little vignettes rather than like.
I mean, not really. Again, I'd say it's more like Barefoot Gen meets Yokohama Kairashi Kiko, but like even then, that's kind of a gross simplification, right? Like, there's more to the movie than that. And I mean, I don't think it was a terrible movie. I don't think it was a terrible movie. I just like, especially for Sunao Katabuchi's return to the big stage and the big times. It just felt so terribly mediocre to me. Like a lot. It just isn't good craftsmanship. The only reason people like it is because of the whole Japanese war film stuff and the fact that it took place in Hiroshima. And the biggest Japanese film festival is in Hiroshima, so
that's not true, Governor Romney. No.
Huh? What's not true? The biggest Japanese film festival doesn't take place in Hiroshima? That's true.
say that the only reason is this. I don't think that's the only reason.
No,
if that was
I don't
the
think that's
only
the only
reason.
reason. I don't think that's the only reason. I think it's a decent film. I don't think there's anything bad about it. I just don't think it was anything groundbreaking or really all that interesting or resonant. But then again, you know, I don't live in Hiroshima. Again, it's a contextual movie, but I don't even think it. I don't even think
accurate for an animated film of all things.
Yeah, but like we were talking before, I don't think expert means a whole lot. You know, like unless that effort produces a visible, you know, result.
Plus, do not
about,
count me on this. But I have a very strange feeling that while he was the director of Katabuchi, when he was going around Japan and sort of showing, like, he appeared during specific screenings, he went to one in Sendai. Interestingly enough, he apparently, because I know someone who went to that showing, he apparently really liked that area. And what do I see a couple of months later? Mappa open up new studio in Sendai. So I can't help but wonder if him touring around for this movie led to Mappa opening up a studio there.
I think that's a coincidence. Tsunade Katabuchi's not that influential. You know, you have to remember, in the end, you know, these famous directors, they're monkeys for the studios and the production committees. So they're not that big of a deal.
I don't know. I think it could have played a role.
Maybe Tsunade Katabuchi put in a good word for it, but I don't think he had any influence in the decision making. Nor are they gonna be like, hey, we're gonna construct a several $1 million studio just because this one director who's not even really affiliated with us said so. Like,
Oh, Mirage Fan asks, Joe, could we see more light novels being translated over to the West thanks to stuff like Violet Evergarden and Kimi no Na wa, in your opinion, Joe?
Good lord, I hope not. Light novels sucked.
You mean like as a result of Violet Evergarden and Kimi no Na wa? Like,
I don't know.
it'd be kind of hard to measure it as a causal mechanism to.
Oh god!
Like light
a
novel
causal mechanism. Causal mechanism.
Hey, you know, these are
standard
terms in methodology.
This is the best way of dodging a question. I gotta use that. It would be hard to measure in causal metric.
Well, it would be hard to measure.
It's true, but also it's a way of dodging the question.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I mean,
a good way of dodging
personally, I just don't want to see any more of that shit.
But like, if we actually,
well, the thing with Mappa is that Maruyama doesn't actually run it anymore, and the new guy that runs.
Dude, fix your fucking mic.
As Maruyama,
because Roger doesn't drink, Roger's mic must be drunk.
Well, with Maruyama, he took things a lot more slowly, whereas this guy, I think the new head of Mappa, I think he does share some of Maruyama's philosophies, but I think he's more fit for like the modern anime, like high production, because ever since he took over, Mappa have been releasing a lot more anime, as in comparison, Maruyama was in charge, in which case it was kind of only a couple of shows every year.
Okay, well, whatever. The main point is light novels should not get translated because light novels suck. And we should not be reading light novels.
There are a handful of decent ones.
Yes, there's a handful of decent ones, just like there's a handful of decent young adult novels. That doesn't mean the genre is any good. Light novels in Japan are the equivalent of light novels in Japan are the equivalent of like fucking what's popular with the kids nowadays. I don't know, Maximum Ride and John Green. And, I don't know
what happens to
to Mirage. If you're specifically looking for like a cause that you should like point to, I would say that the rise in the popularity of Sword Art Online realistically as being the cause for this, because what they were looking at least in terms of Western companies, was a diversification of means of monetary gain, and thus they decided, to translate the light novels and print them and, put them onto shelves alongside the progressive manga and all of that stuff.
Wait, first of all, has everybody actually read a light novel?
I have read
Hell yeah.
a couple of volumes of.
Okay, I know Joe has because he's pathetic, but like, how about you guys? Have you read it? Actually,
I'll kill you one day.
I read one last year. I can't remember if it was.
Yeah.
Oh, it was.
yeah,
I've
something
tried
you realize very quickly is that they're not very well written. They're very matter of fact and straightforward, and like,
interesting.
They're not very interesting. It's not fucking.
No, I find the way they're written very interesting. The fact that this style whenever you have a style like this taking hold, whenever you have it spreading,
there's such a thing as being straightforward and too straightforward. There's such a thing as Hemingway and Sword Art Online. That's the difference.
It's like this is the thing. It's trash.
It's Hemingway and Sword Art Online. What? It's a different writing style entirely. Hold on, I'm grabbing my fucking Bucky Monogatari.
Hey man, Sword Art Online actually is now on a required reading list.
Seriously? For what?
You pissed off Mirage now.
Yeah, I was looking on Twitter and
the writing
posted
style
like
at all to be really
right,
honest.
Checo, the Sword Art Online required reading list.
Sword Art Online is on the required reading list this semester.
Yeah. Checo was complaining.
Holy
yeah,
shit,
Jekko was complaining on his Discord about this guy who was like, I can't believe SAO is required reading for my literature class.
I've linked it in the chat.
The
guy was surprised. It's just all the comments are like, oh my gosh, why did they pick a light novel that's good? I'm just like, it's
what are we talking? What are we talking about? I don't know.
Like even reading like the fan translations of Violet Evergarden, you can definitely see some of the artistry behind a lot of the writing. It's really enjoyable in itself. I don't think it's bad writing. I just think it's different because of how it's translated.
No, it's pretty bad writing. It's pretty.
I mean,
I've read Violet Evergarden before. You want me
if
to?
We're talking about trajectories of the medium. Light novels generally tend towards like kind of trashy style often because of the kind of culture around them. I think, but I like that for what it is, and I don't like demanding it to be something else. And it also means that like when a light novel comes out that has a very interesting, unique style, that it's also
the problem is that light novels, the way they're written is with an extreme emphasis on straightforwardness and clarity. Okay? It's very matter of fact. It never plays around with any fancy imagery or whatever. It's just like, this is how things are. This is whatever. This is whatever. It's just so plain and featureless and dull. There's literal else than dialogue, and the dialogue is poorly written.
There's a pervading emptiness to it. It's fascinating.
I don't.
Okay, there's a difference between fascinating and good.
There's a difference.
Yes, there is. I'm not saying it's good.
I agree. I think light novels in general are fascinating. I wouldn't say they're good. I think there's something very interesting about their style. I don't think it's enjoyable.
I think it's valuable putting this in discussion with a few anime we've had recently that have looked at sort of the light novel writer sort of world. Things like Eromanga Sensei, things like the sister fucker anime, My Little Sister's All You Need, where he doesn't actually fuck any sisters. These sort of anime, they express...
thanks for the spoilers.
Sorry.
Personally, I was always more of a visual novel guy than a light novel guy, but...
Technically, but...
The thing with visual novels, and I can speak because I worked on translating a few, is that okay? And also, Totoro translation is coming out soon. Anyways, the interesting thing about visual novels is that they're much less dependent on the script than a regular novel. You have things like visuals that can be communicative. You have soundtracks, voice acting, pictures. In something like Fate Stay Night, back in 2009 or whatever, you could read it, and the translation was pathetic because Taka Jun was an incompetent translator. Not to hate on the guy, he works very hard, and he's been a big deal for the visual novel community, but he's incompetent, and his translations are bad.
To him.
the visual novel was still a lot of fun because you had these action scenes and it was almost like directed like a movie. You had like flashes of light.
I
and
tried
shit.
reading through that twice, and I find it boring as shit. But
You try to find what out boring.
no, I tried to read through Fate Stay Night twice, and I kind of find it
When
boring
did you
as
quit?
shit.
When did you quit? Because the first 3 days are always the most dull. The first
I
3
mean, I
days are
got pretty far into the Fate route.
Well, I mean, Fake Round was the most boring, but like, if you could stick through it, Unlimited Blade Works and Heaven's Feel.
Wait. There's a hot take in the chat. Someone says, "Oh man, visual novels are a terrible way to consume a story."
For Western sensibilities, they do not align with the standards of. They do not align with the expectation of a video game, and they don't align with the experience of an anime. And so, basically, visual novels don't fit into either categorization within the Western perception. So, what you really need to do is build an identity of them independent of other media, but still
I consider visual novels games. I consider them novels.
Isn't this just a fuel your thing of Roger doesn't play games?
I mean, visual novels are just porn, though. Visual
We
novels are just
can't
porn.
say either way if visual novels are just video games or books. They're a whole
I agree.
experience in themselves.
I
and they
agree. They're a
lend
whole
themselves to
experience in
different
themselves.
characteristics.
Their whole experience in themselves that it's called porn.
No.
All right,
Have
that
you
they're not.
Literature Club. It
They're
plays a
novels.
lot with a lot of these characteristics of visual.
Doki Doki Literature
only
Club is a
done by
fucking
visual
terrible
novels.
game. Doki Doki Literature
Is it
Club is a
also
fucking
porn?
terrible game. That
Is it
only
also
ironic
porn?
weebs
Doki
who've
Doki
never
Literature
played visual
Club
novels
reminds
before
me
like.
My my high school creative writing class.
But first of all, you have to understand in Japan, visual novels are not called visual novels. You know what they're called?
Eroge?
Eroge or H games or Arrow.
Cry game.
They're just called. Well, that's a subset under Arrow game. People are gonna call, hey, what game did you play? Oh, I played an Arrow game. They're not gonna be like, I played a Nuki game. Nobody knows who that is.
Some of them are called eroge. A lot of them are called eroge.
Most of them
A lot
are
of them are
called
also
Arrow.
called
In
Gauge.
general,
Go to a
Calgay, Calgay, Arrow game. Point is,
there's
they're either penis porn for your penis, or they're heart porn for your heart.
Really? Are you gonna call that porn, man? Oh wow.
Wait,
what about
what
the
company
comment?
was it that pretty much trademarked the term sound novel, even though it's legitimately the same exact thing as a visual novel?
I don't know, but I know Key trademarked the term kinetic novel a while back, which is kind of
I'm gonna give you guys 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna close the live stream.
No,
Because
make
kinetic
it,
novel.
make it 3. I gotta head out soon.
Really?
Anyways, I got a
No,
magic.
you don't have
I got a magic.
There's
the
no
Gathering
choice
tournament tonight.
involved. It's
I
one
think
the whole
the just playing visual novels is just porn it's just kind of wrong-headed. Like, it's not all just porn. There may be pornographic elements to it, but it's not intrinsically just porn.
Yeah, I'm doing my dissertation on how we define
What brilliant visual novel did you play that drew you to this conclusion? This mind-shattering
Planetarian?
conclusion.
I don't know. There's some great stuff in Error too. Clanad,
Error and
Canon.
Clanad were both terrible, and those were like the most obvious
What
examples.
about
of
Steins
why
Gate?
No, I
pretty
agree
great
with
too.
Air. I think the
Stargate-
anime of
Stargate's
Air
a
is
little
actually
better.
much better than the visual novel. I find the visual novel of Air to be
There's some great
freaking
horror.
insufferable.
Like, did you
There's-
actually play the visual novel Air? Because I can tell you, it's unbearable.
I
I
have.
played the thing. I played the thing. It is
Favorite visual
unbearable.
novel ever.
to you.
It is fucking terrible.
Plays the hell out of me every time they do the freaking camera shake,
Oh yeah.
and they do it like constantly in the Air visual novel.
Oh god.
Oh, it's not just that. The art is also terrible. Itaru Hinoi is an artist that cannot draw to save her fucking life.
Just the characters are really, really annoying.
The characters too. Like, especially a key visual novel, they were the ones who first came up with the Nukige formula. So their idea was just like, hey, let's make these cute girls and then just make them suffer, and that will get predictable or bland at all, right? If we just make these characters that are perfect balls of positive character traits and then just put them through sad situations. Like, no, that's not interesting. That might have worked for
But that is classic Nakige.
But
Nukige.
it's beautiful artificiality.
Nakige, not Nukige. Nukige is porn games. Nukige, Naki.
Yeah, I mean, even like the pornographic elements of Air feel kind of.
No, I mean,
the porn elements aren't
like when
supposed
you had
to be
Andrews getting
because
fingered up the butt by her
see,
mom.
here's something I think people misunderstand about porn elements in modern Galgame. The porn is not the goal. The porn is there.
Yeah.
The game is a girlfriend simulator, and the sex scenes are a way for you to deepen your emotional attachment to the characters. You know, because sex
I
is
would
an
not say
intimate
the
thing.
girlfriend is the goal. I would not say. I would say the self is the goal. The self-actualization is the goal.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
And-
Shut up. Are you gonna talk about? Are you gonna talk about will to power now and will and representation?
You're the one saying, "Oh, this is not the goal. That's
No,
the
it's
goal."
a-
So I'm going to come in and say no.
It's an argument from techno intimacy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's an argument
Well,
of techno intimacy.
That's essentially what visual novels have come down to. That's you ask anybody in Japan or anybody who's aficionado with this kind of game. That's what they'll tell you the game is for. There are some exceptions, like Steins Gate, or if anybody is an old schooler, you might remember and things like Dividend.
Well, had a hentai adaptation though.
Yeah, it wasn't very good, and let's be honest, the story it wasn't like a girlfriend simulator. It was like a drama and shit, but like maybe something like Move Love Alternative too. But like,
oh hell yeah, Move.
Are you one of those Mud Love people? Are you actually one of those Mud Love people that try to say it's a good game?
Here we go.
Are you actually one of those Mud Love people?
I will defend Move Love till the day I die.
Okay, Joe, which do you prefer more? Do you like Red Vines, or do you like Twizzlers? What do you prefer?
This sounds like a leading question.
Huh?
I feel like this is a trap somehow.
No, it's a joke. Do you not remember that? Do you not remember the Twizzlers? What's it called? Scene in Alternative?
No, I don't remember that at all.
The
But
Twizzlers
I'm
scene
also a lot of years in, so I might not really remember.
Sumika and the Twizzlers. You don't remember the Sumika and the Twizzlers?
I don't remember that.
Oh, I'm surprised. That was like the biggest thing for me.
I'm just
But
salty about I just don't understand how, because it's pornographic. It's somehow.
I'm sure visual novels mean a lot to you. All I'm saying, and they do to me too. I've read some life-changing games, and I've read plenty of games that were phenomenally influential and powerful for me. But the truth is, and the truth of the genre is, it's that by and large they're girlfriend simulators made for lonely otaku. That's just the truth of it. That's just the fact of it. Some permutations on that idea.
But are they simulating a girlfriend or a further extension of the feminized self?
Jesus.
Wow, thanks a lot, Anne Allison.
There's a large part of it.
Don't throw that name at me.
Talk about pop people.
Well, I mean, it depends on what visual novels you're talking about. I think a lot of the console ones are not really pornographic because you can't really get away with that.
Well, yes, they're not pornographic.
You're not going to call
Phoenix
Wright a girlfriend simulator, you know?
And Phoenix Wright and stuff that's a stretch because in the 90s, Japanese game development was influenced by a lot of Galgame, and they took on a lot of characteristics like the dialogue style and the interface and all that shit. But those are just games that adapted those mechanics. They're not true Galgame. Galgame produce about 70% of Japanese game market every year. About 70% of all games made in Japan every year are Galgame. And the majority of those Galgame are basically just girlfriend simulators. And the minority that can still be considered in some way a strange, deviated form of that. And that's fine. That's what the genre. That's what the genre is best for. It's for creating these situations where you get intimate with other characters, and you can
what about boyfriend simulators?
There are plenty of those too. There are so many boyfriend simulators. There's so many gay, homosexual, bloodlust simulators. You have no idea.
All right, guys, you got
vampires have been translated into English. Do it for me.
You guys got 5 minutes, and then I'm closing the stream.
Okay, put
Start talking about apocalypticism.
Quite problematic.
Okay. Final thoughts. Somebody said problematic.
I find that the conceit of not wanting to translate light novels is entirely problematic if you want to translate manga, because like it's similar in the sense they have narratives and narratives that not a lot of people can get a handle on. I just find it really
the media mixed in flow.
Yes, but manga are good,
Mediums.
and light novels. Manga, I can look at it and it say craftsmanship of this is good. I want to translate this because the craftsmanship is good. Sometimes the dialogue is a little
Reached
iffy,
the
but the
blatant
craftsmanship is good.
generalization stage of Egon.
I think it's
Well,
probably
no.
a problem with translation.
What I'm saying is, at least in my experience, I look at most light novels, and I've read a lot of light novels, and I see, and I say, this is poorly written, or at least written on a very plain and simple level for like an 8th grade reading level, because that's who these books are marketed to for the most part. You're not generally selling light novels to grown men or women, unless they're like super hardcore otaku, in which case they most likely have an 8th grade reading level too. So that's what they're marketed for. I am simply not interested, and I don't think most people should be interested in translating that kind of stuff written in such plain, boring, generic ways. Manga can be a lot more challenging. Manga, in general, stretches across a variety of demographics, and there are manga written for everybody. And even stuff that's written for little kids, I can look at this and say, I really appreciate the art. I want to translate this. I think this has a valuable story to tell. Because you don't have to patronize your audience by saying, I'm writing in a simple way that you can understand. Instead, you say, art is universal. I can communicate this to you visually.
Okay, Egon, you're talking about points here. What if we started talking about trajectories? Do you think light novels will stay the way they are, like forever?
I think so. I think they're a very, I think they're a very specifically planned thing. There's a whole world of Japanese novels and literature that I would love to translate if I was capable.
Because there was a light novel, I think it was like last year or the year before, there was a light novel competition where the entry requirements were that you particularly did not write isekai. There was a rule for that competition against writing
Yes, I know.
isekai
I heard about that.
Yeah. So I think the world has every potential to change, and I wouldn't stigmatize or prioritize differently what we translate because all these media are constantly changing. You don't want to get to the point where you get.
All right, I think we're stretching out Joe. We can talk about this some other time.
We probably do.
Right to nobody.
Light to Naberu.
I think that we can see more light novels and visual novels coming over to the West in the next 3 to 5 years.
We can have a conversation on our own stream some other time or later at night or whatever you want to do. I think Joe is getting a little tired, so yeah. Let's call it.
Someone finally use my Discord's voice channel. Fuck.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us, Joe. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for coming on for another exciting live stream. So I will see people later.
Goodbye.